There we go. Okay. Okay, guys, welcome into our Master Key training. It's such a blessing to have you guys. We're just going to pray real quick. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful week of worship. We thank you for what you did on the cross. We thank you for saving us all from damnation and hell. We thank you that you restored and redeemed our health here as a family. You've restored and redeemed relationships. You've restored and redeemed our family members. And Lord, we claim that deeply for anyone else that we're praying for. Lord, you are a Lord who answers prayers. So God, we thank you. We anoint this live call that the Holy Spirit will speak through Greg, speak through Alex, speak through myself, and that new ears will be opened to hear new learnings and that they will be relevant and applied to all the Muslims in our lives. Lord, we pray deeply over any Muslim that's been connected with us to receive your gospel, to deconstruct Islam, and to be born again with the Holy Spirit and to become a savage evangelist as their heart would call them to. So Lord, we thank you so much for Pastor Greg and Alex for teaching us and coaching us on this Monday. We thank you so much for your spirit that is with us. And we thank you so much for another beautiful week of ministry unto you, Jesus. We love you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Hey, big week. CBN interview went well. Thanks for the support on that, guys. I saw some comments on there. You may be firing me up. I appreciate that a lot. That was cool. The goal is to get the master key on CBN, and that was pillar one. So he said, "Hey, dude, you should come back whenever." And I was like, "All right, Pastor Greg, we got to drill me on pillar two so we can crank that out." But that's a huge win for the ministry. It's really cool to get that recognition and of course that delivery. But today we have another master key training session. For those who are new to the ministry or new to this call, the master key is a system that can be replicated over and over. That's what system means. It means it can be run the same way, essentially to just provide so much evidence against strongman Islam. So we're not going to be poking weak holes at the prophet. We're not going to be making fun of Aisha or his actions. We're not going to talk about the war stuff. That's really important stuff, but it doesn't minister to people's hearts. It just kind of scares them and puts them into defense mode, and that's not what we want to do. So the master key is our system of building Islam up as strong as it's ever been and knowing it better than a lot of Muslim people have known it for, and then us delivering objective reality against it and arguments against it that truly I have never seen answered. And the goal is just to stack it up. It's not just one argument. It's a system of arguments that when it's all presented, it's said and done, you see Islam for what it really is. Just honestly a heretical offshoot of Judaism, rabbinical Judaism, not even real Judaism. So I'm super excited for you guys to learn this. Pastor Greg has been such a blessing in this community. He's sown so much into us. I think almost everybody in this call has talked to him at this point. So we just trust that the Lord is going to be providing even more help and endurance and just ammo and firepower behind this. So I'm excited for you guys to learn this. Pastor Greg and I just set the agenda maybe 7 minutes ago at 6:59. So we are going to open the floor for role play because you guys have been exposed to the information. And I'll give you a quick story. I used to run really big sales teams in a lot of online spaces. And the number one way that we would train our sales professionals was with role play. We would do call reviews and role play certain word tracks or objection handles. And that's where 99% of the growth can happen. You can listen as a sales guy, you can listen to 200 hours of sermons, but until you got yourself in the arena and got muddy and bloody with role play and see how you perceive things, there was no that's where the exponential growth was. So we're going to open the floor up to role play. Whoever's been studying the master key, whoever's familiar with it, this is the time to practice live, because if you can practice in front of 25 people, you can definitely minister to a Muslim loved one. And that's really important. And so Pastor Greg, and then if nobody wants to role play or we just blitz through it, I think you guys should definitely do it. I'm telling you right now, it is so important. If you guys have like a little itch in your head, like, oh, I should probably role play, that's probably from the Spirit. I will sign off on that. Let's go ahead and learn together. But we'll also be going into maybe some general Q&A and general apologetics tonight. So if you've been just wrestling with somebody who's been Muslim and you're getting slammed with objections or questions, Pastor Greg and Alex are some of the best guys, I think, in the industry of evangelism to answer this stuff. So without further ado, Pastor Greg, the floor is yours.
Okay, yeah. So just thanks, Shark, so much. I got to see that interview. So you can I just ask? So you did Pillar 1 on CBN?
Yeah.
So you just kind of stuck to that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
there's such short time, right? Yeah.
yeah. He said we shouldn't go longer than 12 minutes. And we went 15, and I kind of saw he has like a little signal for like,
Okay.
hey, like we're definitely over time.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, Pillar One was fully delivered, even with the unbreakable chain. Like, when would it be corrupted if we've believed in the revelation for so long? It was amazing, and I kind of dabbled a bit onto Moses and Jacob, that mixed story. But I think I misquoted the Genesis. I think I said Genesis 37, but I corrected myself.
yeah.
Other than that, we kind of just talked about some general things, but it was mostly
Sure.
Pillar One, and the main objection was the Bible was corrupted, and so I just laid it out from how you taught us using the
Okay,
cheat
great.
sheet. Actually, I had the cheat sheet open on the right side of my screen, but it went really well.
Okay, great. Yeah, just we'll open it for role player. Another thing we could do is, if anybody's too nervous to do it, but if anybody's been already trying, like already sharing with somebody, because I know there have been some people I've been talking to in the last few weeks. The last week, I think I've talked to a few people who've tried it for the first time. So if anybody wants to share about that, we could also talk about that and use that as the basis for coaching you guys as well. I always, whenever I do stuff with people, sometimes if anybody's local to me, by the way, like I'm happy to try to, if you can arrange a meeting with a Muslim person you're trying to connect, like reach out to, and set that meeting with that person, you and myself, I'm happy to be there and use the master key and help show you. That's one of the ways I train. But with that, always debriefing with people. So if you've done it, or I went out to an event, I was doing some event and you guys came along to it. It might not have been all the master key, but it's like, debrief how that went. Sorry, it's just, okay. I clicked on the wrong thing. Yeah, so just always debriefing, trying to learn from the experiences we have. You're never going to do it like flawlessly the first time. Okay, like it doesn't work like that. It takes time of experience, trying it out, learning skills, communication, figuring out, okay, I shouldn't have said it that way. I can say it this way, that's better. So I want to be here to help you guys, coach you on that stuff from what I've experienced and Alex has experienced, because we all talk together and stuff. And so you can pull from that experience to refine your approach as best as you can before you start using it. But if any of you have already started using it, you want to talk about, we can debrief your experiences. Or if someone wants to step out and do a role play, we can do that.
Hey, Pastor Greg, we got a quick question in the chat. What area are you in?
Near Toronto. I'm in Mississauga in Canada.
I'm checking our map. We have about 90 people near you. Could be somebody on this call.
Roughly speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
When you keep zooming in, it gets further.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto. I've met Greg in person.
Yeah, he came to a masjid dialogue we did last month, I think.
Yeah, I'll be there in 10 days, I guess it is, right? Or whatever.
Well, God willing, because they've been trying to change the topic and everything, and I don't know if I'm going to cooperate with them. So
okay,
we will see if it happens.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'll just plug this too. Is the very last weekend of the month in August is Muslim Fest, is an event near us in Mississauga, and it's an annual Muslim event that we do street evangelism outside of. So if anybody's in the area or wants to travel, and I don't know, Shark, are you committed to come?
Yeah, I'm 99% there.
Okay.
I have a wedding in Florida that same weekend, so I got to gun it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But I'm 99% there.
probably going to
I'll
come.
probably be
So,
there.
yeah. No excuses. He's in
No
Texas.
excuses.
or
No more
something
excuses, bro. Yeah, no more excuses from Shark. We got to do the thing.
All right. So anyway, you're welcome to join me. Just let me know. Okay. Without further ado, anybody want to try it out or share an experience they've had?
Yeah, I just did it for the first time this couple of days ago, and I was like, I cannot delay this any further. And I went through, I don't know, like 8 hours of your guys' stuff. And it was with my mom, who has, I converted like maybe 15 years ago or something, and it was like a huge dilemma when that happened, and she brought in an imam, and we just had really bad family relations after that. But I literally just stuck to the script, just the textual references, and without any judgment, without poking any fun at Islam or anything. I simply asked her, like, why is the Torah different, or why is the Quran different from the Torah if the Torah is the word of God, you know? And it went over so well that she wants to learn more about what's in the Torah. And she's like, this has never happened before. So, I mean, and I am like the least of all evangelists. Like if Pastor Greg is a 10, I'm like a -2. So I felt like just this method, it gave me tremendous breakthrough. And yeah, and she's like, she was listening very intently. I mean, it was phenomenal. There was stuff that she didn't even know was in her text that, was shed light on, and then she started to think. So, I mean, you guys, like, just go out there and do it.
It's awesome. I was talking with her last night about it, and it's so cool. I don't know if you want to, like, without being too specific, I guess, but maybe can you give them a sense of like your mom's status, I guess, in the community?
Oh yeah, she does lectures. She's like part of like the Sisters
At the
Islamic.
mosque, right?
Yeah, at the mosque. And and my family from her side, they're all leaders in the mosque, and they're pretty much like what people go to them for advice. So for her to be like, last week she was giving a lecture, and this week we're over here discussing the Torah and the Word of God. So that's like, she's not like a nominal Muslim because she's gone into it, but there was still stuff that she didn't even understand because her own translation was incorrect. Because she reads it in Urdu.
Okay, so she's Pakistani background, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, you know what? This is it's a great way of putting it, but this is the reality. She teaches, now you're teaching her. Right?
Yeah.
That's actually the position we step into when we do Master Key. We're the teachers, which is not, you got to be humble. This is not about, there's no pride. We're not never claim to be like, I never even puff myself up with them, right? Like I do the opposite. So if somebody's, the worst thing that somebody can do is they say to somebody, like they're trying to set up a meeting with me and that person, and they say, oh, like Pastor Greg, and so they use pastor, which is like, I try to avoid that being used because that can intimidate them having a position. And then they say, oh, he like knows the Quran so well. It's like, no, please don't say that about me, because I am not an expert. I'm not a scholar. So I study it. I say I study it. Okay. But I don't like, even myself, I'm not going to say I'm some expert. I'm not an expert. I like to be as much of an expert as I can in these few points. Okay. But not about an expert in Islam. Islam is huge, right? Even Quran is huge. So, I'm trying to have some expertise in the stories and what the Quran says about the previous scriptures. Those are my issues. So, I'm just saying that, like when we become the teachers, it's because, like you said, even somebody knowledgeable doesn't really know certain things that we're talking about, because we're focusing on issues that none of them focus on, right? Especially when it comes to the stories. Yeah. I don't, Nishi, if you can maybe share, because maybe just share specifically the things you went through. I actually didn't ask you last night. Did you go through all the references in Pillar 1 that I
didn't even have
the cheat
to.
sheet? Oh, you didn't have to. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have to. The minute that she read the surah, she was like, "Wait, I
which
didn't know
surah?
it said that." Surah Baqarah, the beginning. So basically, just confirming what's in the Torah, like those verses, right? So she was like, I didn't even know that. And then I had asked her, well, have you ever even read the Torah? And she's like, no. And she's like, I want to know more. And so at that point, she was convinced. And I remember you specifically saying in another session, I asked you a question, and you were like, the onus is not on you to prove that the Torah is correct. It's on them to prove that the Quran is correct. So then I just kept the ball in her court. And I was like, let's look at the story. And I think you specifically told me to go through Adam, the story of Adam and Eve. And that's where I started. And she was completely shook when she noticed the entire thing was different from start to finish.
Yeah, as it is in all the stories. Let me just,
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen just so that as we're talking and as we're referring to things, I can show the references. Okay. So just to make sure we're on the same page here. So as you were mentioning, Surah 2, ayah 40 to 44, right, is what you were looking at?
Yes.
Okay. So these verses.
Mhm.
So you shared those. You didn't share anything else, just those verses?
Yeah, I just shared those verses, and she had
Mhm.
never even, I don't know, she never even translated it or looked at it before. So
Okay, so if that's the case, what I would say, so you like, let me just try to summarize for people, make sure, and then you correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, you went through this, then you went to the Adam narrative, and I think you told me that you just all you did was you read in Surah 2 the section that's on Adam in Surah 2, and then you went to Genesis and you read Genesis 2. Is that right?
yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I guess you had you read my comparison chart, the whole thing?
Yeah, I got the table that you had sent me
Mhm.
in the Google Doc. So I read that before, but I just opened up the Quran, I opened up the Torah and did a side by side, just read the Quran first and then the Torah.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, let me just show so people know what we're talking about. So I have, this is like in our master files where these are working documents that I'm working on. I know some of you have seen this before. And so I have documents where I'm comparing all the stories in detail. And if you don't have access to that, I can give you access. Let me maybe do.
How would you like us to get access, Greg? Just DM you or drop a link somewhere?
Yeah, you got to DM me because this
Yeah.
stuff is, I don't want it public. So please keep it to yourself. And yeah, so basically in this document, like you can go through the outline. It's all like kind of hyperlinked in the sections. So I don't have everything done, right? Like I said, it's a live document, but Adam and Eve in here, you know, it lists the references on Adam and Eve. And then the next section is the summaries of the narrative. I have to actually fill that one out. And then the text section, you can read all of the text on Adam and Eve in the Torah, and then also all the stuff that's outside the Torah, and then the Quran, all the references in the Quran. So you don't have to like try to look it up and try to find all the places where Adam's talked about in the Quran. I've got it all there for you. Okay, so you can just read it through, and also you have the list of the references, so you can look it up in your own Quran. Okay, and then also here's the chart. So this is what one of the charts looks like. Let me just do the full screen view here. And so the chart is Quran, Torah, Midrash, which is Jewish legends, and then notes. So the main two columns are, yeah, on the first one, Quran and Torah. And then I've got it in sections. You can read through, it's all in order in the events and comparison. It gives you all the references for that section that are here, Quran and Torah references. And then, so this is difference number 1, difference number 2, 3, and so on. So I try to be pretty thorough so that you can understand it. And there are, go to the very end of the chart, 124 differences. in the Adam narrative. Okay. So you can read through. So Nishi, so did you read through all of that or just some of it, or what did you do?
I didn't go to the Midrash at all. I just
Mhm.
did the Quran and the Torah, and that for her that was enough to want to go to other stories too. So that's what she asked me afterwards.
Yeah, you can leave the Midrash until like as extra stuff way later. Like better kind of get into more story comparisons, Quran and Torah. And then how did she, maybe just for people to understand, how did she kind of leave that conversation? How did she feel? How did that end?
She was really happy. She said that she can't wait to find the truth out.
Whoa.
And
Okay, I don't
I
remember
was
you telling me
like,
that. Okay.
I thought that was the biggest thing, right? And then my husband gets home and she starts just telling him that we had like the best conversation ever, and she is so excited, like she's never been
Oh, good.
this close to the truth or whatever. And I was like, what is she saying? And I just I've never heard her speak like that, and it was a shocker for me. So I had to tell Holy Spirit to like keep my mouth shut because I don't want to screw it up.
Exactly. Wow, that's so cool.
May I say something?
Yeah.
You can keep Midrash as a reserve.
Yeah.
When she or anybody else will be overwhelmed with the Torah in comparison with the Quran and how big difference are, then they will eventually ask you a question: where the Quran came from? Then, what do you think? And then you're going to bring Midrash card. It's a trump card, the final one.
Yeah.
Trump ace card. And you go for a Genesis chapter. No, it's Surah 25, 4 and 5. And you show the Midrash and pinpoint several of them.
I'm gonna bring it up as you're talking about it.
Very small one.
It's the highlighted ones here. So let me just read it and then you can keep going, Alex. So
Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Yeah. So this is Surah 25. So this basically, the Quran is talking about people in the time of Muhammad who are hearing the Quran, talking about the disbelievers. So the people who are rejecting the Quran in the time of Muhammad, what were they saying about the Quran? Well, the Quran tells us, okay? So the disbelievers say this Quran is nothing but a fabrication, that's Muhammad, which he made up with the help of others. Their claim is totally unjustified and untrue. And they say these revelations are only ancient fables or legends, which he has had written down, and they are rehearsed to him morning and evening. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, thanks. So that basically tells us, because the word for scripture is different. At least it could be called Al-Kitab in Arabic. Every time we hear Al-Kitab, it's basically translated as a scripture. This verse, specifically verse 5, it said ancient fables. Fables, and I searched Arabic word for it, and it showed me 9 times in the Quran only used that word, fables. I don't know the Arabic, I don't remember. And every single time it's been used as an accusation. In the Quran, it's recorded 9 times when people accuse Muhammad that the Quran is ancient, well, whatever, fable. At least the word fable is there. It's always accusation of the Quran. So idea is, why didn't they say, or the scripture of the former people, which could be understood easily, right? They say the fables. And the fable is definitely Midrash. Midrash is what are called legends of the Jews. And even the name of the book we're using for the reference by Rabbi Louis Ginsburg, he called himself this book, The Legends of the Jews. It's actually matching perfectly verse 5. But it said ancient of the fable of ancient people, right? Ancient fables, right? Yeah. So, and usually, as I said, you keep it as a reserve, and then they will eventually ask you, what do you think? Like, when then the Quran could have come from? Like, it's the last stand. And I find out the last time is that Midrash is copied from the Quran. That's what people telling me online when I talk to them, Muslims. And they said, "Oh, no, it's not a Quran copy, it's from Midrash," because they realize Midrash is later invention by the rabbis. So they say, "Oh, no, it's actually the Jews read the Quran and they copied it into Midrash." It's funny because everybody who I ask, every Muslim I ask, including apologists and Dai, whatever, nobody read Midrash. Nobody. I mean, literally. So it's crazy because we are we're only people who know stuff, who can bring 1 + 1 and make it 2. They have maybe 1, maybe half of 1, but nothing less. So, and I say, guys, how do you say that if you didn't read it? And I say openly, I read it and I could prove it to you, but you didn't read it, so you outnumbered, outgunned. So what are you going to say? Now let me teach you. Now I'm in position of the teacher, alim, or imam, whatever. Now we can bring the stories. And as my goal is just to have thorough examination of that subject into the paper or YouTube videos, series of them, to show how Midrash could not be copied from the Quran. It's so obvious because you have to read it inside. You have to read what's going on, and otherwise you cannot just say it. And unfortunately, what the problem is now, in order for me to prove it, we have to read a lot of stuff. We have to discuss a lot of stuff. It's not 5 minutes. It's not a strike and run, hit and run, right? So unfortunately, but it's worth to do that because at the end, if they ask a question, and they will ask a question, you have to be prepared to lay out in front of them enormous, like one volume, the thick volume of the information. Can you imagine that? They think that's end of you, like all you did is a Quran Torah comparison, and they will try to exit somehow, and suddenly you bring more stuff into their head. Poor guys. So that's why I said, that's the best way in that case, just to keep the Midrash out as a trump ace card. That's it. And you will, whatever you use it, maybe you're not going to use it, maybe you will. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, and actually, with your point, there's kind of if you think about it strategically, sometimes you can adapt things differently depending on the situation and the person you're talking to. But overall, like, we try to keep to the 5 pillars in that order, and then we add on to that. So if we feel like it's not enough for the person, then we add on to it. And when we add on, we make it harder. It's like, it's not adding on lesser arguments. We're adding on harder stuff. So typically we would go through the 5 pillars and then we add on the mixed stories. The mixed stories is so much harder, right? So if they're like, at this point, we're like, it's kind of not enough. It's like, boom, okay, mixed stories. And another one. And then we can go to Adam. We can go to Midrash. Okay, so it's like, you leaving stuff till later is strategic, because essentially what we want to do is, especially with somebody who is very deeply entrenched, the more knowledgeable Muslims, they need a lot. They need a lot. Like, we got to build, as Shark was kind of saying in different words, but essentially we're building a cumulative case. Okay, so we got to get a lot on the table. And that's kind of the great way to do it, is you kind of get in a way, you're getting the lesser stuff first. And that stuff is already devastating and can't really be explained. And then you just layer it on even harder stuff. And the Midrash is crazy. Sorry, now we've gotten off onto that. I don't know how we got onto that, Alex and Nishi. How do we get onto the legends?
Yeah, because you asked her if she used legends, Midrash. She said no.
Oh, yeah.
And I could say, hey, don't lay it out like right away. Just skip it. But
Yeah.
a dessert. It's like an ice cream with a cherry on top. It's like amazing. So everything is yummy on the, we're called I don't know, trilogy, whatever, like 3 arguments.
Mm-hmm.
The Midrash is the last one, and it's the sweetest argument. As far as whenever I use it, it's never failed even iota. It's like expectation.
Okay.
Shazma, you have a raised hand.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. So I tried to, share this master key with my few friends few weeks ago, as Pastor Greg already know, like bits of it. I haven't like, as you say, debrief it like so, like stuff what's going on. So we were at the girls' night at my friend's place, and there were like friends of friends there too. So one of this woman noticed I was wearing this cross necklace, and she was like, "Oh, you're Christian." I was like, "Yes, I am Christian." She was like, "So you are worshiping just a prophet? Hazrat Isa was just a prophet?" So I was like shocked, like from where this came from. I was like quiet and like bit emotional, and they kept adding, emotional stuff about Jesus, like he was just like us, like random person, and like. So I stayed quiet for a while. Then she added, "The Quran is the only true book ever written. You should sometime give it a try to read it. You'll be amazed by the truth." I was like, "Okay, if you have one, I'd be happy to read it." So she was like, "Okay, so you planning to like convert to being Muslim?" I was like, "No, actually, I'm reading like PDF of Quran and Torah. I'm finding really interesting stuff." Then they were like, "Oh yeah, really? Keep reading it. Then one day we'll throw you a big party like for converting and stuff." I was like, "No, you should find like you should read that stuff someday." So she was like, "Okay, what stuff are you like? What stuff do you find?" So I was like, I shared her like I have been comparing passages like Exodus 2:15, which we read in the Master Key, and Torah, Surat Kes 28 and 22, story of Moses and Jacob.
Mhm.
Then they were rude to me, and more girls started commenting on it and having a like they were in a group. I was their only Christian person.
Mm.
So I was like, I was getting emotional, I won't lie. I had no enough knowledge to to talk to them, and I was like, I started crying a bit. I won't deny this. Then they were like, "Okay, let us know when you convert." Then next day, we were on a road trip. I was taking this session, Master Key. I was like listening to you. Then she was like, "What are you listening to?" Then I told about this group. She was like, "Okay, put your phone on Bluetooth." Okay. She kept listening and listening. Then she was like, "Okay, just turn it off." Then next day she messaged me like, "Send me those verses you're reading." Then I messaged her 2:15 Exodus and Surah Al-Qasas. Then she was like, "I want to know more about it, what you have been reading in this group." Okay, and so she'll be maybe not sure. Her name is Fajar. Maybe she's from Pakistan but living in US. Maybe she will join in few weeks. She messaged me. Then she had been reading all the stuff, and she's pretty shocked. And I was like, "Okay, I can like drop few more stuff if you want." She was like, I'm very embarrassed that we were in a group. We shouldn't have like talked about this and stuff." But she was like, "I would like to more if you have like PDF highlighted stuff, like the differences, share with me. Then we can talk about it sometime, or I can, like take the session or hear the session where you were listening to." So I was like, "Oh my God, this is surprising." I was not like fully equipped with the knowledge and with the references, but I was glad that I at least tried it like for the first time. Now I'm like open to know more about it. So
Mhm.
to not get
It's
emotional.
amazing that it's even working without you even really doing it.
Yeah, I have no clue. I kept getting very emotional. I kept getting to the restroom and crying, and I took my cross necklace off. Like I was
Mm.
very emotional. But then I kept reminding myself, as you said, to be more in the moment and to keep yourself composed. Um, so yeah, I'm happy the way
That's
I
awesome.
shared it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, just be encouraged and just keep focus on learning it. And I don't know if there's a I don't maybe you can tell me if there's a way possibly if the person would be open to connect with me, because I'd be open to do a like if you did like a video call or something like that. She doesn't even need to show her face.
Like a one-to-one. She is a
With
crazy
with you
Muslim,
with
hijabi
you.
Muslim. She is like, I can ask her. You know what? I want to get comfortable with me. Like we can share like few messages, few
Yeah.
verses. Then I told her about this group, and she's more
Mhm.
than welcome to join sometime.
Yeah,
But
but I'm just saying what you could suggest to her is instead of like being kind of the odd person out in the whole group, you could say
Mhm.
like, I know that one of the people that's teaching is would be happy to like do a private conversation with you, me, and him. And you could tell her you don't need to show your face either.
yeah, yeah, I can talk to her. Like I can do that. Maybe you never
Yeah.
know, because I believe the plant has already been like seeded, so you never know.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
I
can
can try.
just you can tell her also things like there won't be any pressure. He's
Mhm.
not going to pressure you at all. And also just essentially it'll be a time where he can just lay out some of the points and
Mhm.
explain things, and if you have questions, you can ask questions. And yeah, just you just say like just for like the purpose of knowledge, and that's it.
Like a lecture. Like I usually say, "Well, let me give you a lecture. You can take a note. You don't need
Mhm.
to respond, rebuttal.
Yeah,
I didn't demand anything from you. I'm just lay out all the information. That's all."
exactly.
I can try that, but I just don't want to scare her.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I can try that.
yeah. As you feel comfortable, if you think it's right
Yes,
to.
I
Yeah,
will do that like in few weeks or days.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
she
It's not a
even
rush, but like,
sent me
yeah,
a Quran, like a book of it. I was like, okay, fine, let's do it.
yeah.
She was like, we can figure out like differences. If you found any, you can tell me, or you can highlight them. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can send you stuff.
Well,
So
you know what you could do is something like, actually, you know what, the Joseph story. Just do that. So it's very simple because it's all in one place in the Quran. It's not all over the place. So if you,
uh,
Surah Yusuf, Surah 12. So let me just kind of like pull it up
oh
here
yeah,
also. Okay. So Surah Yusuf, you read all of it yourself. Okay. And then, and it's 111 verses. Okay. And it's basically like reading a few chapters in the Bible. So it's not that long. And it's almost the whole thing is just the story of Joseph, starting in verse 4 and going to, I think it's 101. 101. Okay, so 4 101 is the story of Yusuf, and then it kind of has a close to the chapter. What you could do with her is after you read it and like try to analyze it yourself, and also read Genesis 37, chapter 37 to chapter 50, so you know the story.
can you
Refresh.
drop the verses in the comments? Like I might forget them.
Say that
So
again.
maybe, can you drop the verses in the comments?
Can somebody do that for me? Because it's hard for
I
me to do
might
it.
forget. Maybe I can write it somewhere.
Yeah, and I also have that chart done. So I mean, it's a massive chart, but you can consult it if you want. Okay, and actually, you know what? You could even, if you even wanted to read it with her, like I don't mind that, just as long as like maybe you're sharing your screen instead of sending it to her. But like if you see here, the Joseph chart. Okay, so there's 24 sections in the Joseph chart. It's massive. So, and it is, you can see 941 differences in the story.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah.
Okay. There's, I think, 98 verses.
Mhm.
So in about 100 verses, you've got over 900 differences. So you've got more, on average, more than 9 per verse.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just crazy. You don't need to go through the whole thing with her, but it's like, all you could do is you could simply just do like a Bible study / Quran study.
Yeah, that's
and
what
you're
she
just,
wanted. That's what she wanted.
that's what she wants. So
Yeah.
like a simple thing is just say, hey, why don't we do the story of Yusuf? And you know what? They usually love that story because it's all in one place. It's neat. And it's even in verse 3, it's called the best of stories. So, you know, you can just say, hey, and actually I'll show you the last verse. You could start it off this way, actually.
Mhm.
She might already, I'm not sure if she's already heard me talk about it and whatever she's heard, but the
She's
very
talked about
last
it.
verse of the surah,
Mhm.
111, this is basically, it's the Quran talking about its own stories of the prophets that are in the Quran that should be confirming the stories of the prophets in the Torah. Because it says, in their stories, which is the stories of the messengers, there is truly a lesson for people of reason. This message, and that means the Quran cannot be a fabrication. Rather, it is a confirmation of previous revelation, a detailed explanation of all things, a guide mercy for people of faith. So it's essentially saying in the stories of the prophets in the Quran, they are a confirmation of the previous revelations, including the Torah. And since this verse is at the very end of the long story of Yusuf, clearly the story of Yusuf is being as in mind, especially.
Mhm.
So you can point this out before you read the story, and you could say, so this is actually, and I usually like say things. It's sometimes I think Christians, we need to reorient the way that we approach talking about things. So I would say, like, I love this about the Quran. I love that because it's so clear, and it's becomes a problem for the Quran, okay? Because the Quran is so clearly saying that its stories, insofar as it's telling the stories that are in the previous scriptures, they should be in agreement, right?
Right.
And even it says a detailed explanation. So not just in general, in the details. And that's where it really falls apart, right? So you can go from there and back to the beginning of the surah. Here you see verse 3. We relate to you, O Prophet, the best of stories through our revelation of this Quran, though before this you were totally unaware of them. So I usually go from verse 111 to verse 3, not all the time, but I often do this. And I say, see, this is what I love about the Quran, because the Quran makes it like gives us an objective basis to see that it's a miracle, right? The Quran, it claims to be a miracle. One of the ways it does, not only that it's claiming because it's so beautiful literally, but it's claiming because Muhammad didn't know the stories.
Yeah.
How could he tell the stories in such great detail and depth and get it all right? Okay, must be that he got revelation from God,
Yes.
but that requires him to get it right. Okay, so if he gets it wrong, it's not revelation from God, because God doesn't make mistakes, right? And I usually say that to them. God doesn't make mistakes, right? So then verse 4, very next verse is the beginning of the story.
Right.
Okay, and this starts when Joseph has a dream and tells it to his father. So this is the dream of the sun, moon, and 11 stars, and that's in Genesis 37. So you can basically just go through section by section, and if you want to do it like this, so in my file, like I said, the chart has sections in it. So this is the last section after Joseph's death, and it gives you the references. So there's actually one verse about Joseph outside the chapter, and it's in Surah 40, verse 34, and then Exodus 1:8. So other than that, like, it's all Genesis stuff. But essentially, you can go through like section by section. So let me go to here. Hopefully I have it. Yeah, okay, so narrative summaries here. What I have is, this is essentially what all the headings are in the chart. So the first section is background information on Joseph. Okay, but let's just go here, section 2. This is basically the story where it starts. Joseph's dreams. So you can read about Joseph's dreams in Surah 12, verses 4 to 6, or in Genesis 37, 5 to 11. Okay, then the next section, the brothers plot against Joseph. That's verses 8 to 14. And in Genesis 37, 12 to 23. So what I've done is I put it exactly side by side. So you know which verses are parallel with one another.
Yeah.
So what you can do with her is you can say, let's work through the story of Joseph. And then now you have the outline, and just work through the outline section by section. read each one.
Mm.
And my suggestion is read the Quran first, not the Torah. So just read through verses 4 to 6 at the beginning of the surah, and at the end of that, after you read it together, then discuss it to identify what is being said. Make sure you observe what the facts are in what it says, and make no judgment. Don't evaluate it. Don't critique it. Just to try to understand it and pull out exactly all the things that are being said there. And nothing's like super spiritual or profound. Just look at the fact. Okay.
I think she's trying to convert me to Islam or something.
But that's fine, actually. So can you tell me again something? The beginning of the first interaction. Like, what did they say? They said something about like you.
Yeah, they were like Hazrat Isa was a prophet, and that's itself is a sin, like worshipping him. So,
right, and then you said that you started reading the Quran, and what did they say to that?
I was like, they were like, you should read sometime, like you should read Quran sometime. I was like, that's what I'm doing, but give me one if you have. I'm reading PDFs. So she was like, oh, now you're converting. So I was like,
this is what I would say to that. Okay, this is where it's like we got to be more confident, and I think also have fun with it. So I would say, oh yeah, I mean, like maybe, right?
They'll be so happy.
Right, of
They
course
were
they're
like,
gonna be
"We're
so
gonna throw
happy.
you
So
up."
you don't need to be defensive, right? Have fun with it and just say like, oh maybe,
So
right?
they were like,
And just
so,
think
so,
to yourself,
yeah.
the only possible way that you would convert is if all those differences and all the stories are explained. Okay, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
So then there's no way they could do it. But the point is, that's essentially what you have to keep in mind, is like there's no way you can convert. And I'm
Of
not
course,
even
yeah.
just talking about your psychology and your experiences with Jesus and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just from this point of view, there's no way you can. And that's the stuff you're going to focus on. So you could say, actually something I've started saying to some people who are really difficult. So if you find yourself in a difficult position, you could say, you know what, like I've been reading this, started really reading the Quran and the Torah and kind of comparing things and stuff. And I just like, I can't understand why, like the things that I'm finding, right? And like there's a lot of questions I have, and I don't know how they could be answered, but like I'd be interested to hear answers. And essentially what you can present it as like, there's no way I would ever become a Muslim until these things are answered.
But
Okay.
I kept getting very emotional at the moment.
I know.
Yeah,
But
it was
as
my first encounter like that. So it was like
as you learn, you'll be less emotional
yeah.
because you'll be more confident. I always say that boldness follows knowledge. So you will be more bold the more knowledgeable you are, because then you know what you're talking about. You know what they're going to bring up, right? And you don't need to be defensive, because you know like there's answers to what they're saying, or like where you're supposed to focus.
They're also very knowledgeable. They have a lot of knowledge.
Good, that's fine.
Yeah, so it's a bit difficult, and when they are in a larger group, so it overshadows you sometimes. So it's a bit hard as well. But I'm glad I tried, and it's
great.
I have a suggestion to you and to everybody else as well. I do this in the beginning. Say, you know what? You heard about Christian apologists saying the Quran has never been preserved, Muhammad never existed.
Yeah.
Let them react, and you say, you know what? Oh, bogus claim. I believe Muhammad existed, and I believe Quran never been changed and corrupted.
Perfectly preserved.
Perfectly preserved, to the letter, to the dot, to every ahruf, kirayas, making the million ahruf and kirayas. Who cares? Who cares? Doesn't matter, and they will be happy. They'll feel, and you know what? All I need to have a solid Quran to destroy it with the Torah. That's all. I don't need a fluid Quran. Everything what you're gonna read it later on. So you have to say it before. Then you start reading the story of Joseph, for example, and you show how bad the story is, how crazy it is. So it means it's never been corrupted by the Muslim. It was corrupted by Muhammad himself. He has no idea what he was talking about. That's how bad it is.
Mhm.
That's why it's very important to stress out. You know what? I believe the Quran never been corrupted.
Mhm.
It's all good. And that came from the mouth of Muhammad. Therefore, Quran and Muhammad intertwined. They are, what do you call it, together. So
Yeah,
when we destroy Muhammad, we destroy Quran. Sorry, we destroy Quran, we destroy Muhammad.
Yeah.
His credibility completely.
Mhm. Right.
That's also why never mix this strategy with anything else, including those issues. So some Christians are focused on trying to undermine the transmission of the Quran, which is factually just is bad. It's bad evidence that they're using, but it will destroy this approach. So in fact, I would say, like, if you think about it, that as just an illustration, all of the other issues you can let go. You don't have to argue about it. You don't have to present to them, Muhammad was such a terrible man. He did all these terrible things. Look, he was a warlord, or he was, treated women, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can even say, I often say to them, like, Muhammad could be like the best of men. Like, he could be so virtuous. The
Mhm.
problem is his book is wrong.
Oh yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. It's just a factual thing. And unfortunately, he was illiterate, so he couldn't check it.
Yeah.
So, actually, I'm going to put, that we're going to put the blame, not on him. I'm going to put it on the Jews who told him the story's wrong.
Mhm.
Right. And unfortunately, he couldn't check it.
Yeah.
It's like, we kind of like play, Muhammad is like a victim. It's like, unfortunately, like he just didn't know. He was probably a good guy. Like, he was against idols. I'm against idols too. But unfortunately, he didn't know that shrine that he took the idols out of was actually a pagan shrine to begin with. It didn't go back to Abraham and Ishmael.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So,
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Maybe we go to, is I'm Torah the next one? And I think Shaz.
Hey, yeah, I got a quick question from Samantha real quick. I missed her
Yeah.
maybe 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, okay. Go
Um,
ahead.
Yeah, she said she was evangelizing to her pickle Muslim friend. I think her pickleball Muslim friends. But she said my friend Mona believed Ishmael was Isaac and got a bit aggressive about it. I was able to cool the situation, but I have not brought it up again. Convo was based on their most recent fast, not Ramadan, but the other one. And Samantha, maybe you can type out some more context on that too.
Can you go back and can you reread the beginning about Ishmael and Isaac? I didn't really understand that.
Yeah, she said my friend Mona believed Ishmael was Isaac.
So is Mona a Christian or Muslim?
Mona's a Muslim.
She thought Ishmael was Isaac.
And got a bit
So-
aggressive. Yeah.
I don't know if Mona wants to, or sorry, who is it, Samantha?
Yeah, Samantha.
I don't know if you want to help explain to me.
It's a sacrifice of Isaac when Ishmael was sacrificed. And so
Yeah. Okay, so no, it's because Islam teaches it was Ishmael, not Isaac.
Yeah, she can't unmute, but Samantha, just we'll take like 20, 30 seconds, just type something out in the chat.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think
one more thing I'd like to suggest you guys. Have you seen the debate a few days ago? Yesterday was published with David Wood and Daniel, whatever name.
Akikichu.
Yeah, whatever.
No. How was
Can
I
that?
say-
just heard about it. I was gonna
Okay,
look at
I
it.
ask you to watch the first debate. Second debate, who cares?
Yeah.
The first debate,
It's on Islamic Dilemma, right?
Islamic Dilemma, yeah. And I ask you to everybody write down where Muslim Daniel made a mistake and blunder, which we could exploit immediately. If any of us would have been on the David's place, this Daniel will be shamed thoroughly through the Quran, of course, right? But Daniel didn't know himself he's going into the trap. But to his advantage, David Wood or anybody else, they didn't know that too, as well. So
Right.
nobody even pay attention.
Nobody knows except us.
It's insane.
So just for your homework, when you spot something which he said, Daniel said, which you could say, that's amazing. He's actually working. It's actually against himself, right? He built a case for us to exploit. But that's idea just for you to exercise.
That's great, Alex. Can we come back to Samantha's statement? I want to make sure we answer all of that. So there was the confusion about Ishmael and Isaac. What else did she say?
Samantha, no message yet. Maybe she's typing something out.
Okay.
We'll come back to that, Samantha.
Okay.
I think I'm Torda. If you want to go ahead and ask what you had.
I'm sorry.
Good morning.
My question was, yeah, it's 5 in the morning here. I'm barely functioning. I have a question, like what this rabbi thinks, like what is the goal of teaching Muhammad the wrong teachings? Like I'm kind of confused by this, like
okay.
what's the ultimate goal kind of
Yeah,
thing?
why
Like,
did what's the motive? The reason is because
Yeah,
they want
and-
they okay, let me answer it. So the reason is because they wanted to save the Jewish community. So the Jews are always historically concerned, especially with this one thing, not losing their Jewish identity. So how can Jews lose their Jewish identity? According to them, conversion to another religion, or being like what else? I mean, well, being killed, I guess. So conversion is like the big thing, right? So they were under the threat by Christian missionaries and the Byzantine Empire and the Ethiopian Empire, kingdom, the Abyssinian kingdom in the south and Yemen, and Byzantines in the north. And so there were Jewish tribes in Central Arabia, along with other pagan Arab tribes. And so they were minorities. And now they're surrounded by Christians, and the Christians in the south, in the Abyssinian, the Ethiopian Christians in Yemen, they started sending missionaries up into Central Arabia, and also the Jewish political power was waning, meaning like they were weakened, because shortly before the time of Muhammad in 523 AD, Muhammad was born in 570, and 523 was essentially the end of the Jewish kingdom, which was in Yemen, called the Himyarite kingdom, and the Ethiopians, called the Abyssinians, crossed the Red Sea and took it over and conquered them. And so now the Jewish Himyarite kingdom, the Jews were on the run, essentially. They've lost political power. So now you've just got the minority tribes in Central Arabia. So if you think about it, what can the Jews do when they've got expanding Christian empires in their north and their south coming for them when they're in the center? And they're there among other minority Arab tribes. An alliance. Okay. So create an alliance with them, unify them. So the Arabs have to be unified because they weren't unified before. So what would unify the Arab tribes?
Religion?
One religion, yeah, with one God.
Mm.
Okay. So the Jews had a motive to unify the Arab tribes as allies, and also to shape the new religious movement so that it is friendly to the Jews. And when we read the Quran, and as you guys have, insofar as you guys have been following us and our content, we see that the Quran teaches almost identically like a lot of stuff that's in same as rabbinical Jewish theology, right? No original sin, no need for blood atonement. God is merciful, not strict in his justice. There's a Unitarian one God, and God doesn't come into his creation at all. No theophanies. Messiah doesn't die for people. There is no substitutionary atonement. Okay, that, and also prophets are righteous. Okay, and like better than normal people. That's all rabbinical theology. But all of those tenets that I just said are Islamic also. So when we look at the Quran, it teaches rabbinical ideas, not Christian ideas. So it's not an offshoot from Christianity, it's an offshoot from Judaism. And it's filled with Jewish legends too. the Midrash. So the Christians aren't going to be teaching them the Jewish legends, right? So the Quran has to come from somewhere where it ends up teaching essentially rabbinical Jewish theology and filled with Jewish legends. Okay, so obviously it's being influenced by the Jews. What is the motive at this point? Well, they need a political alliance. And why teach the stories wrong then? Because the Jews, even though they want an ally, they don't, the first motive for them is to save their Jewish identity. So they're trying to save it against the Christians. But if they're going to create a new religious movement, that religious movement can't overtake them either. So they don't want to lose their identity to that movement either. So they teach Muhammad the stories, telling him that the Quran is in fulfillment, in an agreement with their scriptures, the Torah. But they teach him stories that he can't check himself because he can't read, and that are wrong, so that when the Jews in the community hear the Quran being read or recited, they know immediately he's a false prophet. Because there's no way somebody would commit such blunders on those issues. No way somebody will mix up that story so badly. It's not from God. So they're essentially immunized against becoming Muslims themselves. But it's a nice, friendly movement that believes in one God. It's against idols, has dietary laws, has a law court. And all of this is actually consistent with what rabbis teach about what are called the Noahide laws, which are 7 commandments that supposedly God gave to Noah for all the Gentiles to follow. And this is rabbinical tradition too. And that essentially is those things: no idols, have some dietary restrictions, make your own law, establish your own law courts, essentially Sharia law courts, would qualify, and so on. So it actually is almost like the rabbis can actually justify to themselves to say, like, actually, we're leading them to be obedient to what God requires of them by teaching them this, because we're leading them to be monotheists who reject idols, right? And they're following certain basic moral laws that are in the Torah. Okay, they don't need to become Jews, because rabbinical Judaism teaches you don't need to become Jews in order to be saved. A Gentile can have entrance, as they say, into the world to come if they follow the Noahide laws. And essentially, when you compare the Noahide laws to Islam, it's like the exact same. Okay, so I think they were motivated to say we need a political ally to defend ourselves, but that ally can't overtake us and convert us, because that we need to protect our fellow Jews against that. And so they build in, it's like building a virus, encode a virus into the system so that they see it, right? And so they won't be duped by it. But the problem is that Muhammad didn't go with that, what they wanted him to do, right? Muhammad wasn't okay with them not becoming Muslims, right? And so, like I often say, the one thing I think Muhammad hated the most about Judaism was them calling themselves the chosen people. Okay, so if you can think, if he's a prophet fulfilling all the stuff before, then follow me, please. Like, why are you not following me? That doesn't make sense. You're not following me. You must be disingenuous. You're insincere, which is exactly the thing that the Quran talks about. The Jews are insincere. They say, "Oh no, we got the Torah. We don't need the new book." But you said that your book talks about our book, so why aren't you following it, right? So, does that make sense?
Would you explain, like, what's like the makeup of the ratio of, like, or I guess, like, normal Jews who become Christian and rabbinical Jews? Like, was rabbinical Judaism the main thing? Like, is that why they had so much pull?
So are we talking the 7th century?
Yeah, I guess around that time.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but I would assume a lot of the Jews would have been religious. So today, most ethnic Jews are not religious. You're typically secular. But the ones that are, it's a very small minority that they're Messianic Jews, meaning they're Christians, right? So otherwise, Judaism, when we just use the word Judaism, really what we mean is rabbinical Judaism, the Judaism of the rabbis, which is Phariseeism. So that's not the same as Messianic Judaism. That's a different kind of Judaism. And that follows all sorts of oral traditions. And the core concept for them that differs from what we believe is they believe in what they call the oral Torah, because they believe that God revealed two Torahs to Moses on Mount Sinai, the written Torah and the oral Torah. And the oral Torah supposedly has basically all the traditions of the rabbis that they'll ever teach in the future. God downloaded to Moses and then were orally passed down.
And that's just a belief that the rabbis were just pushing. Like, where did that come from? That might be going deep.
Pharisees started it.
Yeah. So it's been around for a while.
Yeah, Pharisees started in the 2nd century BC.
We have a few questions in the chat. One is just an offshoot, but why didn't they try to convert the Arabs to Judaism? From Leslie.
They're not motivated to convert people to Judaism because, like I said, all they need to do is lead people to follow the Noahide laws, 7 commandments that are pretty simple. And, it doesn't require that they be circumcised, although Muslims do that because of Ishmael. And that's another big problem, actually. Because, how old was Ishmael when he was circumcised? Where were they living when he was circumcised? Who else was circumcised the same day? All those things, which according to Genesis are completely contrary to what the Islamic narrative is, right? Okay, so sorry.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
They already tried before, and Himmerite Kingdom was exactly like that.
Right, yeah.
They converted to Judaism, and guess what? Christians went in with an army and destroyed.
Yeah.
So the Jews wants to have ethnically preserve, and maybe some converts from Arabs, but not many. The rest, they want to have a buffer zone. That's what they want. They want to be safe and sound in Arabia, governed by themselves, and all Arabs will protect them as allies, but resistant to Christianity. Actually, they did. As we see now, the Muslims are most resist group apart from Jews to the gospel.
Yeah, for sure.
So they achieved the goal by embedding in the Quran and the Hadith certain anti-Christian sentiments. So they achieved that goal for sure. So I think the Jews wants to be left alone. Like, don't bother us, okay? We live in our Khaybar, Yathrib, and you'll be around us many times more superior, but our friends and allies and the buffer zone, that's what we need.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think, when Christians then talk about the gospel and Jesus with Muslims, they're falling into the trap that the Jews set by designing Islam to be anti-Christian, right? So it's designed to be that way, and so we fall into that trap. So if we're going to use wisdom, we don't fall into the trap. Just like Jesus didn't fall into the trap of the Pharisees. Oh, hey, it's the same thing here. The Pharisees influenced Muhammad. So don't fall into this trap of the Pharisees. What else we got here?
Yeah, we got a few more questions. There's one I just saw. Leslie, a follow-up question from her was, so that's why they built all of Islam, was just to oppose the cross. I think we just kind of said, yeah, pretty much. Michelle has a question. How do Muslims not believe in blood atonement when they practice circumcision? What is the reason for doing so? It's a good question.
Circumcision isn't related to blood atonement, so those are two different issues. But the reason Muslims don't believe in blood sacrifice is because the Jews don't, the rabbis don't. So they encoded it into the teaching of the Quran. And like, Christians get confused about this because they think that Jews are Old Testament Jews. Like they follow the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, but they just don't accept Jesus as Messiah. That's not Judaism. Okay, they follow the oral Torah. They follow the Talmud and the Mishnah and the Midrash. They follow tons of things outside of the Hebrew Bible that totally reframes and reinterprets it. So they're not at all faithful to the Hebrew Bible. If they were faithful to it, they'd accept Jesus as Messiah, right? So one of the things that really confuses Christians is why don't they believe in, like, why don't the Jews really want the temple again? Like most Jews don't care about the temple. They don't want a third temple. The main people who want a third temple are evangelicals, who are dispensationalists. Okay, because I'm not a dispensationalist, by the way. So they think that you need a third physical temple for prophecies to be fulfilled. Okay, I don't buy that, but fine. If you do, that's a secondary issue. The issue is, though, Christians get confused about that because they think that Jews think that, and like, they must think that how can they be right with God if they don't have blood sacrifices? Because that's what the Old Testament teaches. But again, they're not following the Old Testament. They're following their own invented theology, which is taught in these other sources. And they believe that all you need is sincere repentance, and then God will show them mercy, and they'll enter the world to come. And guess what other religion teaches that? Islam.
I have a question, like,
Mhm.
because like here in Kazakhstan, we do have that Eid, like when they kill the bad animal.
Yeah, Eid al-Adha.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, isn't it blood atonement?
No, it's a
Or-
sacrifice, but it's not
Mhm.
blood atonement.
What do they do with this Eid al-Adha meat?
Well, they cook it and then they give it to everybody, like eat it and
Mhm.
share it.
Yeah. Now, question is how close it is. How it's connected to the biblical sacrifice?
Well, it's kind of like it's what here, like most of the people, like in Kazakhstan, they do, like, and it's like a big deal. Like,
Mhm.
uh,
So let's
like-
put it this way. So to get at what Alex is saying, in the biblical sacrificial system in the Torah,
mhm.
when you did, like, which sacrifices could they eat the meat of, and which ones could they not? Do you know?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, you muted. You're muted.
Okay, so do you mean like 2 sheep that the one was sent to the wilderness and the
No,
second
I'm
one
not
was
talking about the
burned and
scapegoat
then
thing. I'm just talking in general about sacrifices. There's different kinds of sacrifices. So
burnt offering,
mhm.
then for the priests,
Yeah, so the burnt offering, what do they do with a burnt offering?
oh, they burn it entirely.
They burn it entirely. They don't eat it, right? Okay, but so those are for sin and guilt. Okay, the ones that are, there are some that are consumed and are shared among the priests. And those are essentially Thanksgiving offerings.
Oh, right.
Okay, so what is Eid al-Adha? It's a Thanksgiving offering.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, a lot of Christians get confused at that because they see it's a sacrifice. Oh, it's a sacrifice. We can use that to like connect. You can't use it to connect because it's a different kind of sacrifice. Yeah. If there are there other questions?
Yeah, there's a few. Prolos had a question, and then we'll go on to Ruthie's. Prolos asked real quick: is there a summary of the Quran's version when Abraham was about to sacrifice his son, just to grasp what the Qurbani Eid is about, at least for Sunnis? So, a summary of the Quran versions when Abraham was about to sacrifice his son.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and we're just going to read the passage because it's not that long.
Let's go.
We're all about specifics. Okay.
Details, not doctrine.
Exactly. There you go. So, Surah 37. Okay, so Surah 37, and I'll just start at 99 for context. But Abraham, before this, in 83 to 98, basically Abraham is in his ancestral homeland, and he's preaching against the idols, and they throw him into a furnace of fire, right? And God saves him from the fiery furnace. This is Abraham, remember? Okay. By the way, that's from Midrash.
That is that a completed story of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego?
You'd think so, but it's actually from Midrash.
Oh,
Okay, so yeah, you'd think so. So then, as he's leaving his ancestral homeland, it says, he later said, I am leaving in obedience to my Lord. He will guide me. My Lord, bless me with righteous offspring. So here we see Abraham prays to have a child, a righteous son. So this is God speaking. We gave him good news of a forbearing son. Now, who's that son going to be? It's going to be Ishmael. Okay. Then when the boy reached the age to work with him, that's something that's interesting. We can come back to. When he reached the age to work with him, Abraham said, "Oh, my dear son, I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you. So tell me what you think." He, so this is Ishmael, replied, "Oh, my dear father, do as you are commanded. Allah willing, you will find me steadfast." Then when they submitted to Allah's will, and Abraham laid him on the side of his forehead for sacrifice, we called out to him, "O Abraham, you have already fulfilled the vision. Indeed, this is how we reward the good doers." That was truly a revealing test, and we ransomed his son with a great sacrifice, and blessed Abraham with honorable mention among later generations. Peace be upon Abraham. This is how we reward the good doers. He was truly one of our faithful servants. We later gave him good news of Isaac, a prophet, and of the righteous, one of the righteous. So Isaac, a prophet, and one of the righteous. We blessed him and Isaac as well. Some of their descendants did good, while others clearly wronged themselves. Okay, so that's the whole passage. Well, Shark, what was the original question? Just to know the story.
Yeah, just to know the story about the Quran's version when Abraham was about to sacrifice his son. So
now let me just point out. So a lot of Christian apologists are kind of again focused on the wrong thing. When they look at a passage like where they're talking about Ishmael or Isaac being sacrificed, they point out it doesn't say the name of the son, right? So it didn't say the name Ishmael. So they start saying, well, maybe it could be Isaac. And lo and behold, in some tafsir, some commentaries, there is a minority position that it could be Isaac. Okay, but that's not the normal position. And so they say, see, there's a minority position, and see, it doesn't say the name, so it could be Isaac, and it only makes sense it's Isaac. Well, no, it doesn't make sense in the Quranic narrative that it's Isaac. It can't be Isaac, by the way. And let me show you how. Because look what it says. So after this happened, this incident with the unnamed son, this is how we reward good doers. He was truly one of our faithful servants. We gave him good news of Isaac. Okay, so the implication is it's happening after he's been given good news of Isaac. So the other son was before Isaac. Okay, so that's the clear indication that it's Ishmael, not Isaac. All right, so and every Muslim has to say it's Ishmael. It doesn't matter the minority opinion, because that's part of the Hajj pilgrimage. Part of what they do is they go to Mount Mina, which is in Mecca, which is where they believe this happened. Okay, that Abraham took Ishmael there, not Isaac. And not only that, they do the sa'i, which is, if you remember pillars 3 and 4 in the Master Key, when we talk about the Abraham, Ishmael, and Hagar story, Abraham brought Hagar and baby Ishmael down to Mecca and left them there. And then Hagar runs back and forth between the two hills, Marwa and Safa, 7 times, and then the angel Gabriel opens the Zamzam well to save them. And this event is commemorated in the Hajj pilgrimage, when they run back and forth 7 times between Marwa and Safa, just like Hagar did. So obviously Abraham brought Hagar and Ishmael down to Mecca, and every Muslim believes that. And the Quran also says that he brought them to Mecca. So I don't see how you can get away and say that this could be Isaac. It's just impossible. Okay, so it's very important we see that so we don't get sidetracked and start thinking it could be Isaac. Okay, it's fine. They think it's Ishmael, but that's rooted in that narrative, and that's how we're going to dismantle it too, by understanding it. Now, I just want to point out, Sharik, maybe I'll talk to you about it. So I want you to see here in verse 102. It says, when the boy reached the age to work with him, Abraham said, "Oh, my dear son, I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you." Now, I want you to think about Ishmael's age. Okay, how does this fit with the hadith?
With Ishmael being way younger, right?
Yeah, so how old was Ishmael when Abraham brought him to Mecca?
He was a baby. Did we say 1?
Yeah. Oh, baby, probably less than 1. He's a nursing infant.
Right.
Actually, could be just like sometime shortly after the birth that he brought them. So if he was a baby, and then how old approximately would Ishmael be when Abraham saw him again, according to the hadith?
Did we say 17?
No. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of the facts.
Oh yeah, he was getting married.
He got married. How many times did he get married before he saw Abraham?
Was it 3 times? Twice, 3 times?
Twice. So remember, Abraham goes back now. How old was Ishmael when he got married, according to the hadith?
Oh man, he was in his 20s.
No, not 20s.
Nope.
Okay, sorry. Well, it's good. We're going to review. Okay, so let me just make sure we have it pulled up. So go to
13. Sorry, 13 or 14.
approximately. Okay, so what specifically does it say though? So Bukhari Hadith number 3364. Let me get it bigger for us. That's good enough size?
Yeah,
so
yep.
Okay, let's go. Okay, when he reached the age of puberty, they made him marry a woman from amongst them.
Yes. Okay. And then Abraham came.
Not quite. So
That's around 12, 13.
let's say that. Okay, 12, 13. Okay. After Ishmael's mother had died, Abraham came after Ishmael's marriage, in order to see his family that he'd left before. So if he came after you, it doesn't say how long after. I mean, obviously, like Abraham didn't get a phone call. Oh, your son just got married in Mecca, 1,350 kilometers south. Okay. So sometime after he got married, Abraham went down to see his son. Now, according to this, how it's phrased, did he see his son at all before that? No. So the last time he saw him was when he was a suckling infant, it says at the beginning of the narrative.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after puberty, he's married once. Abraham comes, but he did not find Ishmael there. So he met Ishmael's wife, and because Ishmael was out hunting or something like that, he's talking to Ishmael's wife, and he ends up leaving that secret code to basically divorce, to tell Ishmael to remove the what's it called? Threshold of the gate. Change the threshold of the gate, which is a secret code to say divorce your wife. Okay, so and when she relays that message to Ishmael, Abraham already left. So Abraham already went back to Canaan. Ishmael comes home. His wife says to him, I talked to this guy and he said to change the threshold of the gate. And he said, oh, it's my father. It's amazing. He knows it's his father. He hasn't seen him since he was a baby. But it's my father. And he told me that I should divorce you. Okay. What advice? So go back to your family, he says to her. So Ishmael divorced her and married another woman from the tribe of Joram. Abraham stayed a while away from them for a period of as long as Allah wished and called on them again, but did not find Ishmael. So Ishmael is now married second time. Abraham returns another time. This would be his third journey to Mecca. And again, we got the repeat. He's talking to the wife while she says he's gone in search of livelihood. And then after that, it says, tell him that he should keep firm the threshold of his gate, meaning don't divorce you. Okay, so then Ishmael doesn't divorce that wife. Ordered that you should keep firm the threshold of the gate. He said, it was my father. You are the threshold. He has ordered me to keep you with me. Okay. Then Abraham stayed away from them for a period as long as Allah wished and called on them afterwards. Okay, so has he seen them yet? Shark, has he seen them yet? Okay, good.
No, not yet.
Okay, then he comes back another time. So he was there when he went to Mecca when Ishmael was a baby. He came back when he was married the first time, didn't see him. Second time, didn't see him. Now we're on the fourth trip. He saw Ishmael under the tree near Zamzam. So the first time he sees him is after he's been married twice since infancy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's reread this. When the boy reached the age to work with him, Abraham said, "Oh, my dear son, I have seen a dream that I must sacrifice you." How
Okay.
old would Ishmael be when he was capable of working with his father?
Probably around puberty.
Probably around puberty. What did Abraham do as a profession? What was his job?
Shepherd?
Thank you. In fact, actually, I don't know if you probably have heard this, Alex. I was listening to the Yasser Qadi's lectures on the biography of Muhammad, and he mentioned that every prophet was a shepherd.
Yep, that's what they say. That's
Okay.
Muhammad said it.
Yeah. He was wrong, but that's fine. Okay, so it helps us at least know with certainty what the Islamic view is. So Abraham was a shepherd. So how old, let's think about it. How old in ancient times would a boy need to be working with his father shepherding the sheep?
Maybe 5 years.
5, maybe 7.
Maybe 7, yeah.
Yeah. 7. I'm going to say 7 to 10, right? Let's say 7 to 10. When he reached the age to work with him, so not like way after, when he reached the age, then Abraham said, I have a dream to sacrifice you. So would he be married for the second time at this point?
No way.
No shot.
Even first time.
Not even the first time, because he's got to be past, he reached puberty, and then he got married for the first time. Okay. So that's kind of interesting.
So what's really happening here is the hadith.
Confusion. Muhammad confused.
Yeah, Muhammad's confused.
Muhammad's confused.
He said
had
one thing in the hadith and he said another thing in the Quran.
You know, I found this myself, and it was a few years ago as I really was learning Master Key, and I remember I went to, there's an Islamic bookstore near me, and I was just, this was during the season of Eid al-Adha. So I was thinking about Ishmael and the narrative of the sacrifice, and I was thinking to myself, what is the order of events? Like, what is the Islamic chronology of the events? Okay, did Abraham take Ishmael to Mount Minna to sacrifice him before they built the Kaaba or after? Does anybody know? Sharik, would you have known?
I would say before. He would have had the urge to sacrifice him before. But I have zero confidence in saying that after
Yeah,
reading
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not trying to like catch you, but it's like, is
Yeah,
that
I
what you
genuinely
would
don't
have?
know.
Is that what you would have thought being a Muslim before?
Let me flash back.
Yeah, I mean, you probably wouldn't have thought of it, but
Yeah, rephrase the question so I can
which
hear it
is the
again.
order of events? Did he build the Kaaba? Did Abraham build the Kaaba with Ishmael first, or did he take him to Mount Minna for sacrifice first?
He would have had the Kaaba built.
Okay,
But I don't know why I would say that.
I've heard both answers
Okay,
from
yeah.
Muslims and read both answers. So
Interesting.
because the Quran doesn't provide the chronology.
Yeah.
So now, but the interesting thing is it says this, which contradicts the Hadith. But the Hadith has got to be accepted because think about it. You've got to believe as a Muslim that Abraham brought him down there as a baby. Because if he didn't do that, then Hagar didn't run back and forth 7 times. I mean, if Ishmael, let's think about this, Alec. I hadn't thought about this. If Ishmael was older, would Hagar be the one running back and forth 7 times?
Unless he's
No shot.
fatigued.
Unless he's super fatigued, like in Genesis. And she
Yeah.
put them under the bush to die.
Like in the Midrash too.
And then the Midrash.
She was
Yeah.
sick. He was sick.
Yeah, he was sick. So she carried him on her shoulder, even though he was 17. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it said specifically when it's very interesting. In the Genesis, it said the Hagar drank from the well and give Ishmael to drink, lad to drink. In the Hadith, it said she drank it from the well Zamzam, and she get milk in her breasts, and she let him suckle. Babies are not drinking, except from a sippy cup, right?
Mhm.
This is interesting distinction. In the Torah, it said he was drinking. She gave him a drink.
Oh, yeah. That's another
Water.
good point. He's not a
Yeah.
baby. Yeah.
He's not a baby, definitely. And the Quran, she gave him suck after she get the milk. After she drinking water, she get the milk, and she was safe. I mean, another thing is how long it usually takes from the milk to develop from after you eat or drink something. I wonder if the Ishmael was suffering like really badly, even after the Zamzam appeared.
Yeah, let me just make sure that people are following what you're saying.
Okay.
So earlier in the narrative in the Hadith, so Abraham brought Ishmael. Let me just go back to the beginning of it. So it says that Abraham brought Hagar and her son Ishmael while she was still suckling him to the place near the Kaaba. Okay, so that's the beginning of the story. After Abraham leaves them, then she runs out of water, but then she runs back and forth 7 times. Then the angel Gabriel opens the Zamzam well, and then she starts drinking the water from the Zamzam well. And it says, then she drank water and suckled her child. Okay, so that's what Alex is talking about. Whereas in Genesis 21, the angel says, the angel says to Hagar, uplift the boy, hold him fast with your hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. So what did Ishmael drink from? What was the container?
From the skin, of course.
From the skin,
Mhm.
right? Whereas in the Hadith, he's breastfeeding. Okay, so this also shows that another indication in Genesis that he's not a baby. because babies don't drink from skins of water.
You know what I think? The sequence is like that: build the Kaaba, then sacrifice. Because Hadith is very like staged, right? Have 4 stages. 4
Mhm.
times Abraham came in, twice with a woman looking for like meeting with the 2 different wives. First time in the beginning, then the 4th time to build the Kaaba. And we presume after that it was a sacrifice. But the Hadith abruptly stopped after the Kaaba was built. So if we use a Hadith sequence, they met and recognized for the first time in their life each other when Ishmael was about 25 years old.
Mhm.
And at that moment, he said, Abraham supposedly said to Ishmael, Allah told me to build a house here. Will you help me? He said, sure, I will. So we can basically for ourselves establish the sequence, the Kaaba, and then sacrifice. And by the way, this hadith, if you read this hadith and like learn it in your head, like it's very simple. It's contained entire trilogy, so to speak. It's master key, so we can talk about.
I just want to I want to show them something in Ibn Kathir.
Okay.
So Ibn Kathir, his tafsir,
Super quick question for Monica. How long did they nurse? How long did a mom nurse back then?
about 3 years. We have
Knowledge.
some ancient Near Eastern like texts that mention it.
Mhm.
Okay, so in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, so Ibn Kathir is about 700 years after Muhammad. Commentary, very, very well-known, popular commentary that Muslims use. Okay, so you might think to yourself, how are they going to fix this? How are they going to harmonize it? Right? So I want you to, now that you understand the timing issue, and like if he starts when he's as Surah 37 says, verse 102, that when he reached the age to work with him, then Abraham took him for sacrifice. You know, so that's like, I don't know, 8, let's just say 8 to 10 or something like that. When I talked to the person in the store, I was mentioning that at this bookstore, Islamic bookstore, and I asked her, I'm like, I've been trying to like piece together the order of events in Ishmael's life according to Islam. Can you tell me which one happened first, right? And I asked her, how old do you think a boy would be in ancient times, who like when he would start working with his father, if his father was a shepherd, right? And I think that's essentially what she said, like 8 to 10 or something. And I said, that's interesting because, you know, that's what it says in Surah 37, 102. But then I showed her the hadith, right? And she was like very puzzled, right? I said, and I didn't like push anything. I just said, yeah, it's like, it's kind of strange, but maybe you don't accept that hadith, I said. She said, no, it's Bukhari. So she felt stuck. She's like, I got to talk to my sheikh about it. So, and that's fine. And I'm actually fine if they try to harmonize it. It's still going to be a problem, but you can see that you can't really harmonize it. But what does Ibn Kathir do? So he's talking about that verse. He says, when his son was old enough to walk with him. Literally, that's what it says in the Arabic, to walk with him. Okay. It says, this means when he grew up and started to go with his father and walk with him. For Ibrahim used to go every so often to check on his son. Wait, hold on. Did you catch that? Ibrahim used to go every so often to check on his son? Where was Ibrahim living? Canaan. Where was Ishmael living according to Islam? Mecca. So every so often he would travel 1,350 kilometers each way to go visit his son. A 2,700 kilometer journey round trip. Every so often. Right? But hold on, what did the hadith say? It says after he married, he went on his first, he hadn't seen him. He went to go see the son that he hadn't seen for so long. Right? Not every so often. every so often he used to check on his son and his mother. Hold on. Oh, there's another problem. I didn't notice that before, Alex. He used to check on his son and his mother. What happened to his mother before Abraham returned? She died. She died, according to Hadith. And his check on his son and his mother in the land of Faran. There's the Paran, right? You know, Muslims like to say, oh, see, Genesis 21 says, verse 21, he lived in the wilderness of Paran. Okay, and they say, see, Mount Faran is in Mecca. See, even the Torah says he was in Paran. And for those who've watched our stuff, they know Paran is not in Mecca according to the Torah. Paran is in southern Canaan. Because Paran, it also says, and just since I'm talking about it, make sure that new people, or so we refresh ourselves. Numbers 13 is one of our nice references about the spies sent into Canaan by Moses. It says Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran. Okay, so where was the congregation of Israel gathered in during the wilderness wanderings? Were they wandering in Mecca? Okay, like 1,300 kilometers south of where they should be wandering, according to the Torah. And the spies returned after 40 days. Remember, it's a 40-day journey each way, according by camel from Mecca to Canaan. But at the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land. So 40 days in total, going there, spying it out, coming back. Okay, and they came back in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. Okay, so according to the Torah, Paran is in southern Canaan, where the spies were sent from. According to Ibn Kathir and Muslims, the land of Faran, i.e. Makkah, to see how they were doing. Okay, I think Leslie has had her hand up.
Yes, I had. Wait,
Okay,
sorry, it's because I have I have two devices right now. But
I can hear you fine.
okay. So I mean, first I was wondering, like, should we mention Paran to them, like how it's different? Because don't they still believe that the Bible is corrupted in this point? Like, how would they believe what we say? I don't know if that makes sense.
That's amazing. So you would like to think about it, like, so they got to corrupt all the references to Paran, right? Because everywhere, not only in the Torah but in the Tanakh, the rest of the Old Testament mentions Paran.
Okay.
So the Jews, I mean, crafty as they are, they just changed they found every reference to Paran. I know, actually notice, it's not just Paran. The wilderness of Paran, where? At Kadesh. So every reference to Kadesh, sorry, I am hearing an echo now, I think, through one of your things. Okay, so every reference to Kadesh is also Paran. Okay, so, you know, you can just do like a Bible search. Let's do Kadesh. Where was Kadesh? Genesis 14:7. They turned back and came from to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and defeated the country of the Amalekites. Oops, hold on. Amalekites. Where are the Amalekites? Were they near Mecca? Okay, Genesis 14. What's Genesis 14 about? That's like the battle between the kings, right? In Canaan and if you mute yourself again, Leslie. Okay. I know it was an accident. So you got that. I mean, like, every reference is going to be a problem. Genesis 16 lies between Kadesh and Bered. Oh, look, Hagar fled from Abram and Sarah while she was pregnant in Genesis 16. I guess she fled all the way to Mount Faran in Mecca, right, Alex?
You know what? Could you find Ibn Ezra commentary on that first?
Oh yeah. How do I find it?
It's hilarious. It's, I mean, Anyway, so before I will tell you, like before you're looking, right? So
Yeah,
1614 is talking about she's pregnant. She's running where? Back to Egypt because she came from Egypt. She has a family from Egypt. She's not going to immigrate to, I don't know, South Korea, for example. It's irrelevant, right? Not in that economy. No credit cards, no nothing. And she's pregnant. She's running back home, definitely. So that tells us the direction of her travel, and the Kadesh was right there. And as a matter of fact, because she could not run far away, it was close enough for her to come back in a few days, maybe 5 days, 10 days walk back and forth. So the Kadesh is very close to Beersheba. And also Genesis 20, it said that Abraham's journey towards the territory of Negev, which is south of Israel, and lived between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. So again, it's Gerar, it's very close to Gaza. So that area is very, let's say 50 by 50K or miles or whatever, right? It's small, relatively small, nowhere near Mecca, which is like 1,200K or 1,000 miles away, which is like bizarre, ridiculous. So if you can get the Ibn Ezra,
I'm just trying to find how I get to the other chapters.
it should be 1614.
No, I know. I'm just trying to find how do I select the reference.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was so much easier. No, that's not it. Bereshit, maybe I'm going to do, let's just do 16 and see if I can just type it in.
And by the way, I'm waiting for the Muslims to make a mistake, to make a statement. They think I will agree on that because they said Deuteronomy 18:18 is speaking about from your brothers I will raise a prophet like you. And they said, who the brother? It was, I talked to this guy on Saturday. It was funny. He said, who is a brother? Like how many kids Abraham has? I said, yeah, 2. Okay. Who is a brother of Isaac? Ishmael. You see, Ishmaelites were brothers of Isaac, and the prophet came, and Muhammad was Ishmaelite. I said, no, he was not Ishmaelite. Poor guy was stumbling. Like he couldn't believe it because nobody ever said that Ishmaelites were not, I mean, Muhammad was not Ishmaelite. And he was shocked, visibly. He was like, start smiling. I said, like, what are you talking about? It's like a well-known fact. I said, who told you that? Oh, everybody, all rabbis. I said, oh, now you believe in rabbis, right? Don't believe it, these guys. They corrupted the Torah.
Okay, I got it here.
You got it? Okay.
Okay, so it's talking about Genesis 16. Sorry, let me just go back here. Make sure we get the original here. So people can follow. In Genesis 16, at the end of the chapter, 16 is about Sarah and Hagar, right? She proposes the idea to have a child through Hagar, and then she runs away while she's pregnant when Sarah mistreats her. And then the angel meets her in the wilderness. And it says, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, you are the God of seeing. For she said, truly I have seen him who looks after me. Therefore, the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. Okay. Now, what did the rabbis say about it? This is Ibn Ezra. Bir Lahai. Hey, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I want to go to Genesis 24:62 before we go to Ibn Ezra.
Okay.
Just go
Genesis
there.
24:6. What?
24:62.
Oh, here.
Yeah. Now Isaac had returned from Beer Lahai Roi. I was dwelling in Negev. And then he met her, Rebecca, right? So somewhere he met Rebecca in the area from Beer Lahai Roi. That's, we remember that part. And now we'll go to Ibn Ezra for this specific one verse.
Okay. So it says, this comment on Bir Lahai. Bir Lahai means the well of him who will be alive next year. compare kol lechai, so to life next year. The well was so called because the Ishmaelites held annual festivities at this well. It is still in existence and is called the well of Zamum.
Meaning Zamzam. Now I want you to find for 2462, his reference. I mean, his explanation.
Oh, okay. Let me just open another tab so I can.
Okay, yeah. Because I want you to see that, everybody.
I wonder if I can do specifically the verse.
Yep. Perfect.
All right.
So yeah, this one. Yeah. Isaac came from the way of Ber Lachairoi. Ber Lachairoi has two names. Others said whatever, blah blah blah. They similarly explain the word blah blah blah. However, I believe no, it's just talking about nonsense. For he dwelt in the land of the south. For at the time he dwelt here in Negev, and later is in the southern parts of the land of Israel.
Yeah, so he's saying it's in the southern part of the land of Israel, right? Alex, I don't know if are you there? Maybe you got frozen. Let's just give him a second. Alex?
No, Alex.
Yeah,
No.
so I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, so just repeat your explanation here.
Explanation is Ibn Ezra for 2464, when it explained stuff, he said the land of the south, meaning Be'er Lachairoi, is on the south of which is south of part of southern. The later is the southern part of the land of Israel, so it belonged to Israel according to Ibn Ezra. That Be'er Lachairoi belonged to the southern part of Israel, or let's say at least maybe 50 miles south from Israel, from the border of modern day Israel. Let's say, I mean. Now, but if we go back to his commentary on 16, what he said, it's in the Zamzam, it's in the Mecca.
Yeah, there's a textual variant there. It says, some say Zamum and some say Zamzam.
They all say Zamzam because the Ishmaelites have annual festivity at this well, which is exactly perfectly Zamzam, and it's in Mecca. So when I talked to one Muslim, I said, guys, can you, because he used that verse, that explanation of Ibn Ezra to try to tell me it's even the Jews, even the mighty Jews, most amazing
mighty
Jews,
rabbis,
mighty rabbis, they agree with us. I said, this guy contradicts his own commentary on 2462 because Be'er Lachairoi used in both. Well, there is another option. Saudi should vacate the land up to the Mecca and give it to Israel because they belong to Israel according to Rabbi, right? They cannot be wrong, right?
Yeah, or they just move the Kaaba up to Israel.
Oh yeah, it's no big deal. And also, can you imagine that girl, if it is a Kaaba, so a pregnant woman walked 1,300,000 miles south just to Kaaba, to sat by the well, which is already opened. Then she came back 1,000 miles, gave a birth to baby. Now we're going to use a hadith. In the hadith said when she was with the boy, and she was brought by Abraham to the Mecca, then Zamzam was not there yet. It's specifically mentioned. So I said, wait a minute. According to Ibn Ezra, Zamzam was already when she was pregnant yet. She already sat by Zamzam, right? But Ibn Abbas in the hadith said no. Only, let's say, 10 months later, or 11 months later, 12 months later, when she came second time, quote unquote, then there's an angel opened up the well. So I said, you know what? First of all, Ibn Ezra he has no idea about geography. He make no sense logically because a pregnant woman cannot go so far in a foreign country. Okay, and the third one, he contradict his own commentary on Genesis 24:62, and contradict Hadith, his own commentary, common sense, and of course the Torah. He contradict the Torah. For contradiction, this guy could not be trusted. And guess what? Muslims don't know what to say because that was kind of revealing. Because I explained it perfectly. I give them charts and everything, right? So what was amazing. So I said, guys, don't trust the rabbis. It's funny because they said rabbis corrupted the Torah, but whenever the rabbi said something nice to them, they were like, yeah, we like this guy. And we try to be like, oh yeah, just look what the rabbi said. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so just pay attention when people try to use, if Muslims try to use a scholar, whether it's a rabbi or they're trying to use some biblical scholar, and they're trying to say, oh, look, Ishmael's the father of the Arabs or whatever, or they're talking about Arabia and that Ishmael lived in Arabia or something like that. You have to look at the context of what that person is saying, because it's not enough that Ishmael lived in some sense in Arabia. I don't know if my thing's going to load. But where did Ishmael have to live according to Islam? Mecca. Okay. Not just Arabia in general. Arabia is huge. Okay. So he's got to live specifically in there. Let's see if I can find it here. I wanted to find more references on Quran for you guys. Looks like my thing might not load. Because I wanted to show an example of Quran. Where was the wilderness of Paran? Okay, so let me just make this a bit bigger. That's still small for you. One more. Okay, so biblical references. We already were reading this one in Genesis 14. We already look at Numbers 13, but there's a couple other references in Numbers 10 and 12. Okay, also Joshua 14, 6-7. Caleb, the son of Caleb said to him, you know that the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, where? In Kadesh Barnea. Okay. Deuteronomy 1, okay, Kadesh Barnea, which is 11 days journey from Horeb, that's Mount Sinai. Okay, there's just a lot of references. 1 Samuel 25. David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran in 1 Samuel 25. Did David go down to Mecca in that story? Or how about Hadad the Edomite? The Lord raised up an adversary against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the royal house in Edom. If you remember where Edom is, it's basically southeast of on the like southeast of the Dead Sea. Okay, so that's modern day Jordan in the southern portion of that country. And it says, for when David was in Edom, and Joab, the commander of the army, went up to bury the slain, he struck down every male in Edom. For Joab and all Israel remained there 6 months until he had cut off every male in Edom. But Hadad fled to Egypt. So what direction is that? Is west, right? Together with certain Edomites of his father's servants, Hadad still being a little child, they set out from Midian, that's northern Arabia, just south of Edom, and came to where? Paran. So they set out from Midian and came to Paran. Did they go down to Mecca? They went south? But hold on, where are they going? They're fleeing to Egypt. Okay. It's like, shoot, totally opposite direction. They came to Paran and took men with them from Paran and came to Egypt. Wow, they went all the way down south 1,300 kilometers to Mecca, and then they came back up that all the way, and then they went west to Egypt. This is how Hadad fled from David?
They have a plane. Clearly.
Yeah. El Al, probably. All right. All right. So then there's the zones. Now let's look at Josephus. Okay, so be outside of the Bible. Josephus, who's a first century Jewish historian, a lot of times they say Josephus said that Ishmael's the father of the Arabs. He lived in Arabia. Okay, so let's look at what he says here. So this is taken from the Antiquities of the Jews, book 3, chapter 14. Okay, when Moses had led the Hebrews away from there to a place called what?
Haran.
Where was that? Which was near to the borders of the Canaanites. Oops. Okay. And a place difficult to be continued in. He gathered the multitude together in a congregation, and standing in the midst of them, he said, one of the two things that God determined to bestow upon us, liberty and the possession of a happy country. I mean, it's amazing that he led them 1,300 kilometers south of the happy country they're supposed to inherit. The one of them you already are partakers of by the gift of God, and the other you will quickly obtain. For we now have our abode near the borders of the Canaanites. So the Israelites wandering in the wilderness were near the borders of the Canaanites, not near Mecca, and nothing can hinder the acquisition of it, etc. Or we read in his other book, Josephus's book called The War of the Jews. This is 1st century. So this is talking, I think it's about the Jewish revolt around the year 70 or so. It says, and he, Simon, the Jewish zealot, leading the revolt against the Romans in the 1st century. That's my context for you. So Simon, who's leading the Jewish revolt against the Romans, the 1st century. Simon had now a strong body of men about him. He overran the villages and lay in the mountainous country. And when there were still more and more that came to him, he ventured to go down to the lower parts of the country. I mean, which country is he talking about? He's talking about like Judea. He's talking about Israel in the 1st century, because he's talking about the revolt against the Romans in Judea. And since he was now become formidable to the cities, many of the men of power were corrupted by him, so that his army was no longer composed of slaves and robbers, but a great many of the populace were obedient to him as their king. Now, I'm trying to picture this in Mecca, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Okay. He then overran the Acrabatine, I don't know, toparchy, I don't know what that is, and the places that reach as far as Great Idumea. Idumea is like south of Judea. It's part of modern day Israel. Okay. So the Edomites, actually, they went because they were southeast of the Dead Sea in ancient times. Then they relocated in just south of of Judea. Okay, which that was in the 1st century when it's talking about Idumea, is talking about Edom. For he built, and the places that reached as far as Great Idumea, for he built a wall of a certain village called Nain, and made use of that as a fortress for his party's security. So that's where he is, south of Judea. And at the valley called Paran, he enlarged many of the caves, and many others he found ready for his purpose, to fight the Romans. And these he made use of as repositories for his treasures and receptacles for his prey. And therein he laid up the fruits that he had got by rapine, and many of his partisans had their dwelling in them. So I'm trying to picture Simon the Zealot fighting the Romans in Judea, and he's stationed in the wilderness of Paran, which is Mecca, and he keeps all his treasures and his repositories and his, like, you know, his, I guess, his weaponry and his resources 1,300 kilometers south of Mecca, right? Because that's where Paran is, according to Islam. Or the Babylonian Talmud, it has been taught on Tanaite authority that Rabbi Judah said, 10 trials did our ancestors oppose upon the Holy One, blessed be he. 2 at the shore of the sea, 2 in the water, 2 in regard to the manna, 2 in regard to the quail, 1 in regard to the golden calf, 1 in the wilderness of Paran. Okay, so are you getting the point? Paran is not Mount Faran in Mecca. Okay.
That's phenomenal. I hear that argument a lot.
And so now you're be loving to talk about Paran.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Okay.
78 reasons Paran is not Paran.
and I just gave up. There were so many things. This is like my own. I'm trying to search. I'm searching through Paran and Josephus. I mean, there's. I could probably find something in Philo. Now I could I don't think I looked through all the references for Kadesh, because I could probably look for all that too. I mean, come on, it's just so crazy. Okay, any other questions? I know I was going long on that.
Well, thank you for that. Where could we find that? What?
Yeah, so that is in. So when I share my Google Drive with you, let me go here. This is a main folder I share with people called CSA Training Islam. CSA is our kind of, Alex and I came up with a name for our group, our ministry, called Center for Strategic Apologetics. So that's CSA Training Islam. And so we got like a bunch of folders and lots of files, like kind of crazy number of resources. But in this one main file folder, Training Essentials, that's where I have my working documents under there. And the one that we were looking at is part 1. So CSA Master Strategy Handbook, part 1. Okay, part 2A is the stories from creation to Joseph, all the comparison charts. Part 2B is from Moses to essentially, like, we're going to do charts on like Jesus and John the Baptist and stuff too. So that'll be in there too, the narratives. And then part 3 to 7 is like Global Torah Conspiracy, Midrash, stuff on Jewish, like rabbinical theology, bibliographies, and that file. So it's part 1 that is basically like kind of expanded notes on the master key. I use that to create the PDF that I shared with you guys. Okay, so I don't have in the PDF, I didn't include all the Quran stuff because it's just so much stuff.
Yes, you sent me that folder, the training essentials. So,
Did I already sent it to you?
yes.
Okay. So yeah, people can DM me to request it if they want it. Okay. Shark, anything?
Yeah, Monica had a question. You were using the alhatorah.com. How do you use that, and what is the benefit?
This is rabbinical sources. Okay, so with the rabbis, rabbinical commentaries, I'm gonna say, so the I haven't explored it a ton, right? Because I've been more focused on the Islamic side, but increasingly looking at rabbinical stuff. But another one that you guys all need to know is Sefaria. Okay, so not very big here, but it's Sefaria. Okay, this is a major. You can get this in an app, Sefaria, on your phone. You should have it. And this one actually is really cool. Let me just show it to you. Okay, so in here, Tanakh, so that's Old Testament. Mishnah, that's the kind of the core text of the Talmud. Midrash, okay. Halacha. Now, Midrash, there are technically two kinds of Midrash. There is Midrash Halacha and Midrash Haggadah. Midrash Haggadah is the stories, and that's the stuff that we focus on. But Midrash Halacha is the stuff that the Jews, rabbinical Jews, typically emphasize, which is halacha. Halach is to walk. So it's like how to live. And so halacha is the midrash, which is basically traditions about right and wrong. It's about law. Okay, it's basically the rabbinical sharia. Okay, it's rabbinical law. That's really what we know the Pharisees for, is the midrash halacha. We don't know them as much for the midrash haggadah, the stories. There's Kabbalah. There's so many things. Okay, so let's go to midrash. Midrash, well, look, there's lots of things. There's lots of books, okay, on Midrash. Okay, so, this is a whole thing, okay. What do we primarily start with in our research? So look, Midrash Agadah or Haggadah is narratives. That's what it's telling you about. So that's the category. Midrash Rabbah is kind of an authoritative collection of Midrashic stories. And Midrash Rabbah is basically it's organized by books of the Pentateuch, the Torah. So let me click on that. So I click on that, Midrash Rabbah, you got Bereshit Rabbah. Bereshit is the Hebrew word for Genesis, in the beginning. Shemot is Exodus. Vayikra is Leviticus. Bamidbar is Numbers. Devarim is Deuteronomy. Shir HaShirim is Song of Songs. Ruth, Esther, Kohelet, which is Ecclesiastes, and so forth. So it's got various books, but Midrash Rabbah means great. It's the great Midrash. Okay. And so that's a major collection that is good to be looking at times, but this is the one we really look at. Legends of the Jews by Louis Ginsburg. He was early 20th century compilation of Midrashim. Midrashim, im is plural. Midrashim from rabbinic literature on creation through Esther. Okay, and there, if I click on that, 4 volumes, okay, of all the stories. Number 1, things first created. Oh, here, let's read the very beginning of it. The first things created in the beginning, 2,000 years before the heavens and the earth. 7 things were created before. 2,000 years before the heavens and earth were created. 7 things were created. The Torah. Hold on. That's kind of like an eternal book, right? Sharik, what else is an eternal book?
The Quran. That was.
Oh, where did they get that idea from?
I'd be crazy if I said Midrash.
Right. The Torah written with black fire on white fire. Okay. And lying in the lap of God. Okay, that's funny. What else was created? The divine throne. Isn't that emphasized in the Quran too? God sits on a throne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Isn't Ayat al-Kursi, right? The famous verse in the Quran, that's the verse of the throne, right? Okay, so erected in heaven, which later was over the heads of the Hayot. What else? Third thing created. Paradise on the right side of God. Hell on the left side. The celestial sanctuary directly in front of God, having a jewel on its altar graven with the name of the Messiah. And a voice that cries aloud, "Return, ye children of men." When God resolved upon the creation of the world, he took counsel with the Torah. Good thing God had help, right? He used the Torah to create the world. Her advice, the Torah's advice, was this: "O Lord, a king without an army and without courtiers and attendants hardly deserves the name of king, for none is near to express the homage due to him." The answer pleased God exceedingly. Thus did he teach all earthly kings by his divine example to undertake nothing without first consulting advisors just like God consulted the Torah. The advice of the Torah was given with some reservations. Okay, and so on. This is how the Midrash is. I mean, like, have fun, guys. Read it. You'll be laughing tons. All right. So that's Legends of the Jews, which is under the Midrash section. And then you go
I do
down
have a question.
Midrash Agadah. Yep. Okay.
We were in the Legend of the Jews.
Yep.
And it's you mentioned something about divine throne and like how that's emphasized in the Quran.
Yeah, in
you
Islamic. Yeah.
also mentioned like in the Bible, like God is in the throne and stuff. Like what's the difference?
I mean, God on a throne is very clearly symbolic or like allegorical or figurative, I should say, in the Bible, right? Like he doesn't literally sit on the throne. He's not a physical body in his divinity, right? So it's not like there's a place in which God resides. It's like we speak in that way, but in the Bible speaks in that way because it just helps us understand it's not here. It's elsewhere. It transcends our realm of existence. It's not like he's up there. If we just keep going through space, we're going to reach him, right? Like he's not in our spatial realm, right?
So then the Quran and the Midrash speaks literally.
Not necessarily. I don't think that it does. But it's just like it's so colorful the way that it talks about it, right? It sounds very literal because it's so descriptive. I don't have to again like read it charitably, especially with Islam. Like I'm going to read it charitably, but Muslims certainly they can't say it's a physical throne because God isn't physical. But many Muslims won't say that, and they don't mean because the throne is physical and God is physical. It's just there's a school of thought in Islamic theology that basically says you need to sort of like when some of you probably would have seen videos by David Wood and people like and Anthony Rogers who emphasize the Quran and Islamic sources give physical descriptions of God and they must be literally physical. But that's not how Muslims take it. They either say it's not literal, it's figurative, or they, according to one school of thought, they say you can't say whether it's literal or figurative. So they just say we just say it how it says it. We don't say how it is. Okay? So those people are not saying it's literal. They're saying you just have to say it as it's stated, which may sound literal, but they don't say it is literal. They just say, because it says he has a shin, we say he has a shin. Okay? It says he has two right hands, we say he has two right hands. Okay? So, but they don't actually mean that he literally has two physical appendages. They just say, because it says it, we have to say it. What sense is it meant? We can't say. Okay, and that's essentially that. If you think about it, the way those Muslims are thinking is they're like, who are we to say what it means? Are we judges over the Quran? Okay, they're saying no. That would be like taking too much of a elevated stance. We just submit to what it says. If we don't know what it means, Allah knows. That's what they say, right? So I don't have a problem with that. And I think the Christians are making a big mistake when they're trying to critique that. Because they're not really understanding what the Muslims are really doing. The Muslims aren't saying it is literal. They're just saying you can't say whether it's literal or it's figurative. Okay, and they're doing that out of respect. Okay.
Got it.
You still have your hand there. I don't know if that's.
Sorry.
And then there was something written. You done?
I saw someone else raise their hand. I don't know.
And by the way, if somebody wants to ask a question that's like unrelated, like they can do that. We did one tonight.
Monica's got a quick one. For Leslie, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was still held back when we were talking about Surah 37, 102. You compared it to the Hadith, but I don't know where specifically which part? Of the hadith?
Bukhari, number 3364, 3364. That's like, we like to say, like, if there's one hadith, you need to know is that hadith. Okay, so study that. It's a very long hadith, so you have to study it. It's a long narrative. But you need to master that, and then, like, that's essential to Master Key, because there's 2 pillars.
And
Pillar
also,
3 and pillar 4.
it's Midrash as well.
Midrash also.
Uh,
Maybe
because-
we should show that to them.
Yeah, Midrash is amazing.
Okay.
So
But
let's
also,
go ahead.
I was wondering, like, where specifically in the book body 3364?
It's the whole that
The
number.
whole
That whole hadith, you need to study that and know the narrative there.
but like in
It's
comparison
not the big.
to
It's not the
Surah
big.
37:102.
No, you don't
What
need,
should
like,
it-
37102 was just something came up. Somebody asked a question about the Ishmael offering and stuff. So, like, Abraham sacrificing Ishmael in the narrative. So that's why we're looking there. This is like an extra thing. You don't need to know.
Oh,
Okay, that's not essential to the 5 pillars. But it's like, the more everything about Ishmael is like becomes useful information, because you can just pile on what we use with it. Okay. So, but yeah, you need to know that hadith. Alex, what were we gonna say?
About this hadith. Well, 2 wives of Ishmael.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's do the wives of Ishmael. Actually, I have it in the handout, the PDF handout. So you guys already have it. I have the. Let's go down there. Here it is. Okay, so page 15 has Bukhari 3364 in the PDF handout. Okay, and I've like underlined parts to kind of like emphasize things. Okay, so you can study that. That has the full text there, and I made it look nicer than it's on Sunnah.com. Okay, but let's just reread that part with the 2 wives, because I kind of skimmed over it before, and it's going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be interesting. Okay, so here it is. So Ishmael's mother had died. Let me make it one bigger. And when he asked, okay, so where is it? Abraham. Abraham came after Ishmael's marriage in order to see his family that he had left before. But he did not find Ishmael there. When he asked Ishmael's wife about him, she replied, "He has gone in search of livelihood." Then he asked her about their way of living and their condition. She replied, "We are living in misery. We are living in hardship and destitution," complaining to him. So she complained. He said, "When your husband returns, convey my salutation to him and tell him to change the threshold of the gate of his house." When Ishmael came, he seemed to have felt something unusual. So he asked his wife, "Has anyone visited you?" She replied, "Yes, an old man of so-and-so description came and asked me about you, and I informed him. And he asked about our state of living. And I told him that we were living in hardship and poverty." On that, Ishmael said, "Did he advise you anything?" She replied, "Yes, he told me to convey his salutation to you and to tell you to change the threshold of your gate." Ishmael said, "It was my father, and he has ordered me to divorce you. Go back to your family." So Ishmael divorced her and married another from amongst them, i.e. a Jurhamite. So he marries 2 women from Jurham.
Arab woman.
Arab woman from Jurham.
Yeah.
Then Abraham stayed away from them for a period as long as Allah wished and called on them again, but he did not find Ishmael. So he came to Ishmael's wife and asked her about Ishmael. She said, "He has gone in search of our livelihood." Abraham asked her, "How are you getting on?" and asking her about her sustenance and living. And notice her reply. The one before was, "We're in destitution, we don't have anything." She complained. This one says, She replied, "We are prosperous and well off, i.e., we have everything in abundance." Then she thanked Allah. Here, she's pious. She thanked Allah. Abraham said, "What kind of food do you eat?" She said, "Meat." Meat. Pay attention to that. And he said, "What do you drink?" She said, "Water." He said, "Oh Allah, bless their meat and water." Muhammad added, "At that time, they did not have grain. They didn't have grain. They had meat and water. And if they had grain, he would have also invoked Allah to bless it." Muhammad added, "If somebody has only these two things as his sustenance, his health and disposition will be badly affected. Unless he lives in Mecca." I think Muhammad didn't do the carnivore diet, right?
Yeah, he did. That's his.
No. Oh no, he did. But I mean, like, he would have thought it wouldn't work if it's outside of Mecca. It
Yeah,
has to be
because
Mecca.
it's blessing ground, blessed ground. So it's,
Okay.
it doesn't. The physics doesn't work there.
All right. So Muhammad added, then Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, "When your husband comes, give my regards to him and tell him that he should keep firm the threshold of his gate." When Ishmael came back, he asked his wife, "Did anyone call on you?" She replied, "Yes." Look at this. "Yes, a good-looking old man came to me." And she praised him and added, "He asked about you, and I informed him, and he asked about our livelihood, and I told him that we were in a good condition." Ishmael asked her, "Did he give you any piece of advice?" She said, "Yes. He told me to give his regards to you in order that you should keep firm the threshold of your gate." On that, Ishmael said, "It was my father, and you are the threshold of the gate. He has ordered me to keep you with me."
So girls, remember, don't tell the truth to strangers. Always lie that you were well off with your husband.
Yeah, and just in case, it's Abraham.
Yeah, you never know.
Okay, and then Abraham returned again.
Yeah, that's it. That's next story.
Okay,
Let's go.
So
to
we got the two wives,
Midrash.
okay? All right. Two wives of Ishmael in the Midrash. So this is in Lewis Ginsburg, Legends of the Jews. The wife of Ishmael bore 4 sons and a daughter, and afterward Ishmael, his mother, and his wife and children went and returned to the wilderness. They made themselves tents in the wilderness in which they dwelt, and they continued to encamp and journey month by month and year by year. God gave Ishmael flocks and herds and tents on account of Abraham his father, and the man increased in cattle. And some time after, Abraham said to Sarah his wife, "I will go and see my son Ishmael. I yearn to look upon him, for I have not seen him for a long time." Now, I want you guys to remember, Midrash is built around the Torah, right? So how old would Ishmael have been when he was left? Or when he departed from Abraham? According to Genesis 21, he was about 17, right? Not a baby. And Abraham rode upon one of his camels to the wilderness to seek his son Ishmael, for he heard that he was dwelling in a tent in the wilderness with all belonging to him. And Abraham went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. How long does it take to get to Mecca? Okay, clearly not by noon. Okay, and he asked after him. He found the wife of Ishmael sitting in the tent with her children, and her husband and his mother were not with them. And Abraham asked the wife of Ishmael, saying, "Where has Ishmael gone?" And she said, "He has gone to the field to hunt game." And Abraham was still mounted upon the camel, for he would not alight upon the ground, as he had sworn to his wife Sarah that he would not get off the camel. You know, probably like to not sleep with Hagar again, maybe. Okay. Like, I don't trust you. Like, stay on the camel. Don't even get off the camel, right? Okay. So Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, "My daughter, give me a little water, and that I may drink, for I am fatigued and tired from the journey." Ishmael's wife answered and said to Abraham, "We have neither water nor bread." And she was sitting in the tent and did not take any notice of Abraham. She did not even ask him who he was. But all the while she was beating her children in the tent. And she was cursing them, and she also cursed her husband Ishmael and spoke evil of him. Abraham heard the words of Ishmael's wife to her children, and it was an evil thing in his eyes. And Abraham called the woman to come out to him from the tent, and the woman came out and stood face to face with Abraham while Abraham was still mounted on the camel. And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, when your husband Ishmael returns home, say these words to him, a very old man from the land of the Philistines has come here to seek you, and his appearance was thus and so, and thus was his figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing you were not here, he spoke unto me and said, when Ishmael your husband returns, tell him, thus did the man say, when you come home, put away this tent pin which you have placed here, and place another tent pin in its stead. Abraham finished his instruction to the woman, and he turned and went off on the camel homeward. And when Ishmael returned to the tent, he heard the words of his wife, and he knew that it was his father, and that his wife had not honored him. And Ishmael understood his father's words that he had spoken to his wife. And he hearkened to the voice of his father, and he divorced his wife, and she went away. Ishmael afterward went to the land of Canaan and took another wife. From where? The tribe of Jorham in Mecca? No, to Canaan. And he brought her to his tent and to the place where he dwelt. At the end of 3 years, Abraham said, I will go again and see Ishmael my son, for I have not seen him for a long time. And he rode upon his camel and went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. And he asked after Ishmael, and his wife came out of the tent, and she said, he is not here, my lord, for he has gone to hunt in the fields and feed the camels. The woman said to Abraham, turn in, my lord, into the tent, and eat a morsel of what? Bread. Eat a morsel of bread, for your soul must be wearied on account of the journey. And Abraham said to her, I will not stop, for I am in haste to continue my journey. I want you guys to think about this. Abraham said, I'm in haste to continue my journey. I can't stop. Now, what did he go there for? He went to meet Ishmael, right? He didn't see him even the last time. And now he's come a second time, and he's in a hurry. He can't wait. He's in a hurry. What? But he says, give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And the woman hastened and ran into the tent, and she brought out water and what? Bread to Abraham. And she placed before him, urging him to eat and drink. And he ate and drank, and his heart was merry, and he blessed his son Ishmael. And he finished his meal, and he blessed the Lord. And he said to Ishmael's wife, when Ishmael comes home, say these words to him. A very old man from the land of the Philistines came here and asked after you, and you were not here. And I brought him out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was merry. And he spoke these words to me, when Ishmael, your husband, comes home, say to him, the tent pin which you have is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. Abraham finished commanding the woman, and he rode off to his home to the land of the Philistines. And when Ishmael came to his tent, his wife went forth to meet him with joy and a cheerful heart, and she told him the words of the old man. Ishmael knew that it was his father, and that his wife had honored him, and praised the Lord. And Ishmael then took his wife and his children and his cattle, all his belongings, and he journeyed from there, and he went to his father in the land of the Philistines.
I wonder if Abraham called land of Philistine in the Torah.
Yeah, I mean the Jews. There's political motive to change that one, Alex. Okay.
From land of Israel to
it was
land
originally Philistine.
It's supposed to be the Canaan, right?
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, Philistines is. I mean, it is used in Genesis also.
Not like a dwelling place. He was more. He was close enough, but not in Gaza.
Anyway, let's move on. So,
I'm just saying the rabbis invented this story way later after it became Palestina.
No, I don't think so, because I think
No?
Genesis has it uses the term. I'll show.
Yeah.
Genesis 20. I think it's 21 after Ishmael. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, "God is with you, and all that you do," etc. So he goes to Abimelech, and Abimelech of Gerar, right?
Mhm.
And it says, let me get it. I think it says. Okay. Then Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, rose up and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord and the everlasting God.
Mhm.
Abraham journeyed many days in the land of the Philistines.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where they're getting that from.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, it shows it's based on the Torah, right? So
Yep.
Abraham related to Ishmael all that had happened between him and the first wife that Ishmael had taken according to what she had done. And Ishmael and his children dwelt with Abraham many days in that land, in Philistine. Okay, and Abraham dwelt in the land of the Philistines a long time. Later on, it says, and Ishmael repented of his evil ways and subordinated himself to Isaac. And as Abraham enjoyed undisturbed happiness in his family, so also outside in the world. Now, I want you to grasp what this says. Look at the sentence. As Abraham enjoyed undisturbed happiness in his family, so also outside in the world enjoyed undisturbed happiness. Yeah, because I mean, the world revolves around Abraham. Okay. So if Abraham is good, then the whole world flourishes. That's Midrash. Because actually, Abraham was king of the world. It says in the Midrash. Okay. All right. Anyway. So do you see the similarity? The two wives?
Go ahead, Leslie.
Well, I have several questions. First,
Mhm.
I would think reading that Abraham had undisturbed happiness like within his family, and then also with other people around him, like by the world. Not like the whole
That could be true. That's a nice reading of it, but there's also things that are crazy in Midrash that are like that.
Let me point a very important part here in Midrash. Why do you think? Let's use Midrash first without the Hadith, right?
Sure.
Why do you think Abraham traveling, and he doesn't want to even came out from the camel? First time, you explain he probably give oath to the Sarah not to sleep with Hagar. Okay, just I'm not gonna go anywhere. Second time, he said, I'm in a hurry to continue journey where? Because he's like 2 years later, he tried to find his son, and he had to leave as soon as possible because it is an anecdote. The idea of this anecdote, the rabbis, to show how smart men are and women are stupid. Because then women carry on the message. None of them recognize the message. It's about their faith in the family. Because it's only man could recognize, almost like Enigma code, sending messages.
Yeah, the coded message only the men can figure
Coded
out.
message only man can figure it out. It's entire story of two visits of two wives. It's just it's not fairy tale. It's anecdote by the rabbis. Muhammad could not understand it was an anecdote. He took it for real. So that's what I say. Like there is no way human being act like the Abraham in the Midrash and eventually in the Hadith. Because if somebody comes to visit his son after, let's say, 20 years or 25 years in the case of Hadith, and maybe 5 years or so in the case of Midrash, you're going to wait for him a few days. You're not going to leave in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you traveled it's a 40-day camel journey to Mecca, right? So
Yeah.
If Abraham traveled and he meets the first wife, he went to see Ishmael, who he hadn't seen from infancy. Leslie, do you think that he would wait for Ishmael to come home from his hunting trip after traveling 40 days?
Yes, but I also like I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who is a Muslim. Wouldn't they say like, oh, but what if Allah told him to be in a rush? Or like, what if Allah told like
Oh, that's a great
Abraham?
answer. That's a great Muslim answer. Yeah.
Like
Allah
that's
told
what I'm
him.
thinking. How do you go about that?
What do you want to say, Alex? Oh, Alex, you there? I don't know. Maybe he's frozen. Or is he muted? I can't see him.
Yeah, he's unmuted. He might have just stepped away for a sec.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. Like that's fine. Like we don't. I would just say like we don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't like for us. I don't need to like win on that point, right? It's just it shows how ridiculous it is. Now they're gonna. That's amazing. They figure out a way to defend it, right? You know, actually, one explanation for Abraham journeying, according to some Islamic commentaries, they say, have you heard of the Buraq?
I have the
Okay.
night journey, the white
Yeah, the
donkey
night journey.
type, animal. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a really funny picture. I don't know if I can find it.
It's like a Uber on demand.
Yeah, it's like a flying mythical creature.
And anybody could use it.
Hey, real quick, guys. I had a hard stop at 9:45 for myself, so I want to say thank you and I love you guys and God bless. And Pastor Greg, if maybe just pray us out whenever you guys all finish up here. But the recording should be good. I love you guys and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Sorry, I just need to show you this, just so you laugh before you go.
Okay. The Barack Obama.
Okay, so that's the Buraq. So apparently Abraham rode on the Buraq down to Mecca. That's how he made it so fast, right?
The one-way train, the Barack Obama.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Cheers,
Okay.
guys.
Sure. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Or no, actually, I guess he's just going. I guess people can stay. Did anybody want to talk more?
I had one last question on like we're comparing a hadith with another hadith, or what are we comparing? Like from the
two wives?
the two wives stories.
It's the Hadith and the Midrash.
Oh, okay. So the first one was the hadith, and the second one
The
was
second one is
Midrash.
the Jewish Midrash.
Okay. And does it say which midrash it is?
Yeah. So it's in the handout. I copied it fully out in the handout on page 28. It's the heading I put is the two wives of Ishmael, and I give you the reference there. You can look on the screen. I'm showing it too. Bukhari 3364 is the Hadith, and then this is the two wives of Ishmael in Lewis Ginsburg's Legends of the Jews, Volume 1, pages, etc. Okay, so and you can access that PDF. You can access a PDF of Lewis Ginsburg's Legends of the Jews, which has the 4 volumes of the stories, 2 volumes of endnotes, and a volume of index in one file that I put it all together and I bookmarked it so you can navigate it. And that PDF is in our folders also, the Google Drive folders. Okay.
So Muslims believe in the midrash? Or-
No, well they do, but they don't realize it. Okay. Okay, so it's in their sources, but they think that's their sources are true history, right? So we're just showing this midrash in the Quran. It's also on the Hadith. Okay, it's also in their commentaries. I mean, if you look at Islamic commentaries on the stories in the Quran, they add even more midrash in it. They expand the story to explain it more. The more they explain it, the more stuff that's problematic that they add into the picture because they keep drawing from Jewish sources.
Okay. So in like the commentaries, they would put like the Midrash as a resource.
No, they don't know it. They hear stories. So they're like, it's amazing. Centuries, even for centuries after the time of Muhammad, there are commentaries, Islamic commentaries on the Quran, and those scholars who are writing those commentaries are still hearing orally stories being told by the Jews. Okay. So it's like every level in terms of the history, starting from Muhammad and his companions to the next generation, to the next, all the way through, there are Jews and their legends that are influencing them. It's crazy. Yeah.
So just to make sure, and I'm sorry if I've missed this, just to make sure the Midrash is not true.
No, it's not true. It's legends.
Okay, legends.
Well, I mean, or do you believe that God, 2,000 years before he created the heavens and the earth, he created the Torah?
No, there's
Okay,
no way
there you
that could happen.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And also on Sunnah.com, can you show me how to use that? You are going to go and look up the verse to compare it for the other thing, what you were just reading.
Yep.
And I just wanted to know how to
Do you want to know how to find it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the main website, Sunnah.com.
Okay.
Then you're going to see listed, all of these are collections of hadith. Okay. So the first one, it's in Sahih Bukhari, so we're going to click on that. Now it's going to list the contents of Sahih Bukhari. Okay. And you're going to see on the left side are the numbers for the book number, because it's a collection, right? So there's 97 books in Sahih Bukhari, and these are the hadith numbers in that book. So in book 97, you have hadith. Hadith is a narration, it's a report. So there are almost 8,000 reports in it. Okay, these are massive collections. So from report number 7,371 to 7,563, those are the reports in book number 97. Okay, now the way that you can just simply cite it, there are different ways that Muslims cite, and it can actually be confusing because there are multiple reference systems. Okay, so if you are looking up a hadith number and you don't find it, it's probably because you're looking at a different, you were given a source that has a different reference system. So it's actually a different number. Okay, and this is hard to navigate sometimes, but usually people are using this numbering system that you're going to find on Sunnah.com. Okay, but we need to find the hadith we're looking for. So we're going to look through these ranges and we're going to find the number 3364. So that is in this range. Okay, which is the book called Prophets, book 60. So we're looking for 3,364, so it falls in this range. We click on that book. And now this page is going to list all those hadith in that range. Okay, so you can see the first one it lists, okay, is number 3326. Okay, 27, so on. Okay, and now if you're on your laptop or computer, desktop, you know, you can do like something like Control F, a search thing, and then I can do 3364. And that will get me to it faster. Or another way you can do it, I guess it doesn't do it on here, but I think if you scroll, when I scroll on my phone, you know how like when you start swiping, it has the little, on the, you know, like on my computer, it has the scroll bar, right? But on a phone, it shows this like faded little scrolling thing. If you click on that while you're scrolling, and then you can scroll faster, usually it'll show you at the bottom as you're scrolling the number of the hadith, so you can find it.
So my computer decided to restart in the middle of what you were saying.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I pretty much understand what you're saying now.
Yeah.
And at the top of 60, where you just clicked, what is all of this? Where's the translation for that?
I mean, well, why don't we could try to translate it. It's probably an introduction. It could be like a blessing, or it could be a chain of narration. I don't know. Is there a way to? I mean, I could copy it into Google Translate. Okay, obviously there's some mistakes here. A cruise mixture mixed with a widow shampoo. What?
Okay.
That's really wrong. Okay. Not to prostrate. God Almighty. That's funny. Ibn Abbas said, "A preserve." I think it's an introduction to the book.
Okay.
With statement by Ibn Abbas. That's funny. Shampoo.
What you wish.
Adam received from his Lord words. He said, "Our Lord wrong." Okay. It's about prophets. The book is about prophets. It's actually a good book of hadith to read because it's on our topic, right? Like, let's look at the first hadith in this book on the prophets.
Okay.
33:26, narrated by Abu Huraira, the prophet, that's Muhammad, said this: Allah created Adam, making him 60 cubits tall. Now, what is
90
a cubit?
feet? 90 feet.
There you go.
Serious?
Cubit is 1.5 feet. So Allah created Adam, making him 60 cubits tall. When he created him, he said to him, "Go and greet that group of angels and listen to their reply, for it will be your greeting, salutation, and the greetings of your offspring." So Adam said to the angels, "Assalamu alaikum." And the angel said, "Assalamu alayka wa rahmatullahi," whatever it is. Thus the angels added to Adam's salutation. Okay, so actually, you know what? We could probably find that in the Midrash. So if we go to Lewis Ginsburg, Adam, angels, and the creation of man. Let's see if we can. Adam, I think Adam, let's see how he was. Let's do cubits. Maybe we can find a cubit.
And is the Midrash the Alatorah?
No, that's the thing that you're mentioning is a website that has commentaries by rabbis.
No commentaries.
Maybe it doesn't use the word cubit.
Meters, maybe. No, they didn't use the metric system back then.
Okay, so I have to go. Thank you.
Okay, see you, Alex.
Okay.
Oh, here it says, so this is something about creation. The celestial light was but one of the 7 precious gifts enjoyed by Adam before the fall, and to be granted to man again only in the Messianic time. Others, so the other gifts given to Adam, Others are the resplendence of his countenance, life eternal, his tall stature. Okay, his tall stature. Now, there is a height that's given. Oh, the race of giants were 3,000 ells tall.
Ells.
Now, can somebody look up ells? ELLS.
Doing it now.
And to convert that, it's a crazy thing. I remember looking it up one time.
1 L equals 1.25 yards.
Yeah, so you want to convert that 3,000?
Yeah. Dang. 11,250 foot.
There you go. The race of giants were that big. There you go. I could swear that it said it has his height somewhere. I just can't find it. Anybody else want to talk about anything else they can? Sorry, maybe just unmute yourself. I'm not looking at the chat.
I have a question, Greg.
Oh, sorry. Before you ask your question, there it is. Among later generations of men, there was but few who in a measure resembled Adam in his extraordinary size and physical perfections. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't give the
Doesn't give the
humans there,
dimensions.
but
I think it
apparently he was
might somewhere
enormous.
else. But the point is he's
Oh.
a giant. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is really, I'm just trying to fully inspect and grasp that the piece that we were reading before about the wives of Ishmael,
Yep.
And the whole divorce scenario.
Mhm.
Like, because all through the Bible, and so my brain is kind of used to working this way, but all through the Bible, like so many references are used as symbols of things. And so my question was, with Abraham mentioning to the wife, like, change the threshold at the gate, or in the other one, it was the tent peg or whatever.
Mhm.
Is there some kind of cultural, societal context with that Ishmael would know that that's what his father was talking about? Or is this just completely coincidental and just a legend and there's no rhyme or reason to it?
It's the rabbis, like we were talking about before. It's just basically coming up with a secret code, right? And it's obviously Bedouin culture because it's talking about living in a tent,
Mhm.
right? But it's the rabbis just coming up with a way of communicating the secret code.
Okay. A secret code that
the women, I guess, who are too unintelligent to figure it out, and the men can figure it out.
yeah, because they're having too much of a hard time handling all their children in the tent and
Right,
whatnot.
right.
So it's, of course we're not going to figure out secret code that a father and son are using that haven't even known each other the son's whole life. So that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Well, at least Ishmael in the Midrash knew his father because he grew up with his father, right? And left at 17. But in the
Mhm.
Islamic account, he's never met his father,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
he was an infant.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that Ishmael just knows that his father that had visited.
Right. And also in the Midrash, it looks like Hagar is still alive versus the
That's right.
Quran or the
Hadith, yeah.
Hadith. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I want you to think, and also, did you notice the food thing?
Yes, the meat and the bread difference. Yeah.
Yeah, so meat and water is the thing said in the Hadith,
Mhm.
right? And he
Mhm.
says specifically, Muhammad adds, and there was no grain in the land. And had there been grain, I would have prayed like there would have been blessed, right?
Mhm.
But specifically, it's water and bread. that are given in the Midrash,
Yeah.
right? So specifically bread. Okay, but
Which you would need grain to make bread, correct?
yeah, no, but forget the like agricultural thing. It's just
Okay.
the detail is bread or no bread,
Yeah.
right?
That makes
So
sense.
did the Midrash copy the Hadith? Does that make sense?
No.
No, and that's the point. Is they're gonna have to say the Midrash copied the Hadith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's got to be their defense. But if we can show, actually, no, because the Midrash is built upon the skeletal structure of the Torah, not based on the Islamic account,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because where is Abraham? He's in the land of the Philistines. He goes and he arrives there by noon on camel, right? He's impatient, so he goes home. I mean, okay, like even though it's silly, but
Mhm.
You're not going to go 40 days each way, and Ishmael's not there, and he's going to go home another 40 days, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And isn't the Midrash before the Islamic sources, right?
Not necessarily. So if we're
Oh,
talking
okay.
about a written form of it, some of it postdates Islam, but some of it predates Islam. The issue is that rabbinical traditions generally are orally transmitted and develop over time and eventually are written down. So you don't know when they really started. You just have it written at a certain point. So, and you have some of them are very common stories, like Abraham being thrown in the fiery furnace by Nimrod. Okay, so that story is very common and it's very early. I think even before the New Testament. So some of it goes very early to the intertestamental period and all the way through up until the Talmud in the 400s and 500s AD, which is still pre-Islamic, and then even through the time of Muhammad and later. So, and rabbis, I mean, they're basically still creating stories. So you gotta, so when we look at it, we're like, even if I don't have physical evidence of that story predating the Quran, it's in the Quran or it's in the Hadith. So where did it come from? Clearly the Midrash was there before it, because they didn't base it on the Islamic account. I mean, it sounds preposterous to base it on the Islamic account, but it's not just sounds preposterous to us. It's like it's built around the Torah's version. It's not built. And so that means they're copying it from the Hadith and they're readjusting it to fit their corrupted Torah. Like, come on. It's like, it's crazy. Was there a hand or comment? Maybe I'll stop sharing. Or is there anything more you want to talk about that one?
I think I'm good. I think the pieces that I was trying to inspect, I see them clearly. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Anybody who just wants to ask about anything? I'm actually going to talk to Shar because we may do it again on Wednesday, because actually I rescheduled this to Monday because I thought I had something Wednesday, but it's actually next Wednesday I have something. So I'm actually free on Wednesday.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I am a visual person, and so
Mhm.
I'm trying to get a picture of how to study and how to put it together. So in the beginning, looking at how to take it and just whenever we're talking to, I'm losing my words, dismantling the Quran, saying that if it's corrupted or not. Whenever I'm studying that, and just say, for instance, what is it, Surah 7-157, I think is your first surah that you
that's
have.
right.
So on that, how do you get the context? Because it says they, and like, who is they? So how can I take that and put it into a picture and then move forward? And like, once I'm looking at that And then do I start looking into the hadiths and the midrash and then the Torah? So what order do I study?
Do you study or do you present it? You mean?
Well, I would need to study it and have like a flow. And I feel like right now mentally I'm all over the place with so many resources that
Right.
I don't know where to start. Like
Yeah.
I
So
don't have a good picture.
yeah, what I would say is the cheat sheet, you have that, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So have you been working on memorizing those references?
A little, but not in
Okay.
depth.
So what, it doesn't have to be in depth, but just memorize the references. So what I suggest for people as they're trying to know it and be able to use it is after you've watched those 2-part seminar videos, you get the PDF of the handout, the PDF of the cheat sheet, and the cheat sheet is basically you memorize what it says.
Okay.
So memorize the pillar names, the references for each pillar, the conclusion for each pillar that summarizes the conclusion of each one, and you just memorize that order and all the references. So then you don't need to memorize what each reference says, but you just memorize the reference, the surah number, ayah number, and the biblical references. So then you know the order you're going to go in.
Okay.
Okay.
So start from the beginning of the cheat sheet, because I print everything that you send pretty much.
Yeah.
So I have a lot.
So what I'm saying is first just memorize the cheat sheet.
Okay.
Just rote memory the numbers, all the Quranic references and biblical references in that order for each pillar.
Okay.
Then you have like a skeleton to work with, like a structure.
Okay.
So then around that, then you can dive into the PDF of the handout more, and you can look up the references and you can study them.
Okay.
So, and then just study each pillar. So just I don't know, 1 pillar at a time, study the references and study it to try to understand it. And that's really where you need to understand them really well. And so that you feel like you can explain it and you can walk through it with a Muslim.
Okay. I got overwhelmed, and so I kind of backed off a lot. And
Yeah, there is just so much stuff that can be used, but that's why just keep it to that for now.
Okay.
And once you master the cheat sheet, then you're studying the references, and once you feel confident you really understand each of the passages, then you're in a much better place. Basically, you can do it. I just would suggest at that point, when you've studied all those passages for the 5 pillars, the main stuff is deconstruction, but also, study the reconstruction stuff to know how to explain it. But yeah, you should have those memorized too. And then talk to me, tell me okay, you've gone through that and now you want to be able to use it. And then I'll give you some coaching personally, because I think it helps to at least try to practice it or get some extra pointers before you actually try it. And I would add, actually, I don't have it on the cheat sheet. I would add for people, learn the mixed stories as well, because you're going to find those really handy to add on. So that's the Moses' marriage, which is confused with Jacob. And then the King Saul story that's confused with Gideon.
I'm gonna have
So
to
those are
again.
those are listed in the handout file.
Oh.
All the references. So you can add those if you want to your cheat sheet and memorize the references.
Okay.
Does that help, Monica?
Yes. Start with the cheat sheet.
Yeah, and let me just show you were starting with the first verse and how to explain it. So let me show you how I explain it. Okay, so I've got it pulled up. So Surah 7, 157. Okay, so I open there after I say, do you believe the Torah has been changed? When do you believe it was changed? Can I show you some verses from the Quran about the Torah? Here's the first verse I show them, 7, 157. They are the ones who follow the messenger, the unlettered prophet, whose description they find in their Torah and the gospel. He commands them to do good and forbids them from evil, and so forth. I only need the first sentence, really. So they are the ones who follow the message of the unlettered prophet whose description they find in their Torah and the gospel. Now, are we talking about the gospel? No. So forget the gospel. So the Torah.
Okay.
So first question I asked them, who is the messenger, the unlettered prophet?
The messenger. Who is the messenger of the unlettered prophet?
No, he's both. He's the messenger, the unlettered prophet. Who's the unlettered prophet? There you go. It's easy. These are all meant to be very easy questions. Okay. Now, the thing that you were asking about, essentially, who is they?
Yes.
Who are they? Are the ones? So now that we've established it's Muhammad, who's the messenger here, they are the ones who follow him.
And I know you've said this before.
Mm-hmm.
They would be.
Let me just explain it, and then you get it.
Okay,
So they are the. So then I basically asked them. So after who is the messenger, the unlettered prophet? Oh, it's Muhammad. Okay. Then they are the one. Who are the ones who followed him in this verse? Well, look at what it says right after. Whose description they find in the Torah. Who had the Torah?
The Torah was the Jews.
The Jews. Okay, so Jews in what time?
Dear Muhammad's time.
In Muhammad's time, because they're following him, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Jews in the time of Muhammad who converted to Islam. That's who they are.
Islamic Jews.
Yeah, okay. Muslim Jews, okay, or
Muslim.
Jewish Muslims. Okay, so Muslim, basically they're Muslims because they're submitted to Allah. Now, Muslim is not precise enough because Muslim for Muslims they believe all people throughout history who submit to God, even before the advent of Muhammad, are considered Muslims because that Muslim just means someone who submits.
Okay.
So Adam and Jesus and Noah were all Muslims according to them. That doesn't mean they're followers of Muhammad. Muhammad isn't there yet. So Christians are like doing things wrong when they're trying to critique this. It's simply that according to Islamic thought, a Muslim is a submitter. So all the people who were righteous people who believed in God before Muhammad were considered Muslims according to Islam.
Okay.
So we don't say these were just Muslims. They were they were followers of Muhammad.
Followers of Muhammad.
Because it says they followed the messenger, the unlettered prophet.
Okay.
Now, if they're a follower of Muhammad, they're not before Muhammad.
Right.
Okay? So it's not only a Muslim. Okay, they're Muslim, that they submit to God, but they're submitting to God by following Muhammad. Okay, and they find his description in their Torah. So they had the Torah and they found him in it. That means they're Jews. So Jews who converted to Islam and followed Muhammad in his time. Okay, so the key thing that we're trying to get at is the Torah in the time of Muhammad. Because it's Jews in the time of Muhammad who followed him, who found him described in the Torah. So the Torah in the time of Muhammad should have him described in it.
So to get this information, how did you find out who they are? Where are your resources?
I just read it. I just studied it closely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like you can deduce it from the passage.
You just have to know history during that time.
It's not about history, it's about what the Quran says.
Okay.
So all we're dealing with is what the Quran claims, right? We're not saying whether the Quran was very historically accurate or inaccurate. We're just saying, what does it claim? Because then we're going to test the claims, and then we're going to show it's false. Okay. But at this point, all we're doing is establishing what is it claiming. What it claims is that Jews in the time of Muhammad who followed him, who converted to Islam, found him described in the Torah.
Okay, so Muhammad was described in the Torah.
That's the claim.
Okay.
And that's what the Jews in the time of Muhammad claimed. At least that's what the Quran says they claimed.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So, okay, so from the point of view of the Quran, if it says that he was found described in the Torah in the time of Muhammad, was the Torah in the time of Muhammad corrupted or uncorrupted?
uncorrupted.
Yeah, at least with respect to the description of Muhammad, right?
Right.
So as you say, so that's what I said. So at least like with that, like they found his description in there in that time, right? Yes. So they can't say no to this. This is actually why I start with this, is because it's so clear. You just have to study
You're
enough to
pretty much
with those kind of.
establishing who Muhammad is, according to the Torah, and saying that the Torah is to them is an accurate book, that it's not corrupted.
In
That's
that
the
time,
point.
yeah, in that time, it's claiming that it was reliable and uncorrupted.
Okay.
Now, if it's a more trained Dawa guy, they're not going to accept that it's uncorrupted. They're going to accept only that it's uncorrupted with respect to this specific thing, which is fine. That's all I need.
Okay.
I don't need the whole Torah to be uncorrupted. It's just uncorrupted in that it claims that it has prophecies of Muhammad in it in that time.
In that time.
And every Muslim thinks it's still there. Okay. But it's not there.
Because, so if you were to compare this to the Torah, you're not going to find this there.
Well, do you find prophecy of Muhammad in the Torah?
No. No.
Yeah, I know you don't. Okay. So, but you know what is the refutation of it? Of all the claimed prophecies they give, they talk about Isaiah 42, Song of Solomon 5:16, Deuteronomy 18:18, and so Deuteronomy 33:2, so forth. What refutes all of these?
Oh, I have no clue.
Pillar 4. Muhammad is not an Ishmaelite.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because what is the key one is Deuteronomy 18, right? That there's the claim that prophets will come after Moses, God will raise up among their brothers. And so they say, oh, brothers, that means brothers of Israelites means Ishmaelites. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that, but we don't talk about that with them. We say, oh, okay, let's suppose it's Ishmaelites. What's the problem?
I can't answer it.
Muhammad wasn't an Ishmaelite.
Oh, yeah, because, right.
So even if it includes Ishmaelites, he still doesn't qualify.
Okay, I'm just going to have to, I really have to get into it.
So Pillar 4 is saying that, the claim is that Ishmael was the father of the Arabs in Mecca, and Muhammad was a descendant of Ishmael. And we use that.
Egyptian woman.
Exactly. Genesis 21:21, he marries an Egyptian. He doesn't marry an Arab woman from the tribe of Jurhum, as Bukhari 33:64 says. Okay, so if he didn't ever live in Mecca, he didn't marry an Arab woman from the tribe of Jurhum. And as the Torah says, he doesn't marry an Arab, he marries an Egyptian, and he has no Arab children, and he lives nowhere near Mecca. He lives in modern-day Jordan. Okay, so Muhammad wasn't an Ishmaelite. If he wasn't an Ishmaelite, according to the Torah, then any of the prophecies that might include a potential prophet that was an Ishmaelite don't apply to him because he's not one, right?
Right.
So it doesn't matter any prophecy they try to use connected to him because he wasn't one.
Hey,
So
Pastor
Genesis
Greg,
21 undermines all of it. Yeah, Nehemiah, go ahead.
is the genealogy of Ishmael documented or no?
To Muhammad?
No, just in general.
Like his descendants?
Yes.
We have his first generation of his children. Some of them we have some subsequent generations, I believe, in Genesis and maybe in Chronicles.
I was
But I
reading
mean,
First Chronicles today. It's in First Chronicles. I just happened to be reading, I think 20 chapters of First Chronicles today. And yeah, definitely there was the lineage of Ishmael.
yeah, but how far does it go?
Yeah, not far. I think you're right. I think it's one generation only.
Yeah, or maybe even if you get another few. Ishmael was, I don't know, like around 1900 BC or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so When was Muhammad?
Right.
570 he was born, AD. So, 2,500 years later. You need a lot of generations, right? And actually, even in the Islamic account, they have a lineage for Muhammad that claims to go back to Ishmael, right? But they only go back to Adnan. Okay, so if you look it up, Adnan, Adnan,
Mm.
you can look up you'll find a lineage. Maybe I can just do a quick Google search or something.
I just posted in the chat Genesis 25:12 through 18, the family tree of Ishmael, son of Abraham.
This one is confusing, actually, this lineage. There we go. So, I don't know why that's there. So, at the bottom, you see Muhammad, and he's going to blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't know how it goes here, all the way up to Adnan. But there's no connection to Ishmael. They have no idea. They have no idea how many generations are between Adnan and Ishmael, but it's a lot. That, according to the claim.
Mhm.
Okay. So, no, they don't even have a lineage going back. That's their best attempt. Yasser Qadi, he said that Adnan, I think he estimates that he's, I think, around the time, maybe a little bit before the time of Jesus. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you still got like more than 1,500 years gap to get back to Ishmael. Okay, that's not tying him to Ishmael. So they don't even have a written lineage that goes back. Sorry, someone, was it Monica or somebody else was saying something? Somebody was looking at something else they were mentioning.
Oh no, she didn't mention that she put the lineage inside the chat.
Okay. Oh, in the chat. Let me just. Oh yeah. Okay. So now I'm looking at it. Genesis 25. Yeah, Genesis 25, 12 to 18. I mean, that's one of our passages, mainly verse 18. Because verse 18 tells you where they lived. The sons of Ishmael lived east of Egypt in the direction of Assyria. So they're east of Egypt and going northward, which is basically living in modern day Jordan. And it gives the sons. I think that there are other places about the Ishmaelites, but First Chronicles would have mentioned it. Maybe. Did the person who was reading it today know where exactly in Chronicles?
Nah, I didn't take note of it. There's so many.
It wasn't important to you? Come on.
Yeah, I was so caught up in all the other genealogies of Chronicles, I got a headache from it.
Okay. Let's see if I can find it. Chronicles. First Chronicles 1, verse 28 and following.
Chronicles 1:28. Okay.
Sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. These are their genealogies. Firstborn Ishmael, Nebaioth, and Kedar, Abdil, etc. These are the sons of Ishmael. The sons of Keturah, plus the other wife, etc. Father to Isaac, sons of Seir. Who had Seir? Okay. Yeah, there's it doesn't look like it goes very far at all. So, and none of the children of Ishmael were Arabs because he married an Egyptian. Okay. Nehemiah, did you want to ask more? Or?
Oh, that I mean on that specific topic, yeah,
Whatever.
that's pretty good. So say that again.
Yeah, whatever you want to ask.
Okay. That was yeah, that was pretty good because I was just seeing because I was trying to see what argument they could put against that. They could have been like, oh, one of his descendants could have traveled to Arabia or some mess. You know how they can do.
You could tell that, like, if they insist, oh, we have sources, okay, produce it.
Mhm.
Okay, and whatever they produce, that'd be interesting to look at, but they don't have anything really.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the source is Muhammad. That's their source.
My second question was something to earlier because I want to also do some more research on the Jews that came to Arabia. That there were. Let me put it in my notes. What was the name? I think it was the rabbinical Jews that came to Arabia because they were I guess during the Byzantine Empire. What material can I look at to look up some more of that history?
Maybe you could message Alex. He was looking at that more than me, and we did make a video it's on his channel. We did share it at some point in the underground on like the, I don't know what you call it, the wall or whatever it is. Yeah, it's like something like Origins of Islam or something. But if you go to his channel, his channel is his name, Alex Karimli, and you can find
the
video.
link in this chat actually. When you guys were talking about it, he put the YouTube link, and so look in the chat. Alex did put I think he put it well, Shark had put one, and then Alex put one shortly after.
If anything, if you can't find it, just message me afterward, and I'll send you a link.
Okay, sure thing.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Sorry, I need to go back to the chat. I don't know if there's anything in the chat I'm missing. Feel free if anybody wants to say something I'm missing.
I just put the video in because I actually had copied it and put it into a tab because I was going to watch it later. So the origins of it, so it's right there in the tab now, or in the chat. I mean.
Now, one thing that's kind of interesting to know is, do you know what Muslims say was the reason why Jews moved to Arabia?
No, what is it?
They were awaiting the prophet. So they supposedly knew the prophecies of Muhammad in the Torah, and that not only that there would be one, where he would come from. Because the prophecies of Muhammad in the Torah are that specific. It says where he will come from, where his dominion will be, where he will migrate to, okay, and so forth. What he looks like, and his name, or should all have been in the Torah, according to Islamic sources. So why did here's the question that Alex raised. He said, why, if that were the case, which is not true, okay, that's not why they went there, they would have moved, like Nehemiah, I'll ask you, where would they have moved to if they supposedly have in their Torah that Muhammad's going to come from Mecca, etc.? Where are they going to move to?
Towards Mecca.
Mecca. Did the Jews live in Mecca in Muhammad's time?
No.
Right. Where did they live?
I think I wrote it earlier. Let's see.
So in Medina, or the old name is Yathrib. Okay, primarily there, and in other places, but not in Mecca. So why didn't they move to Mecca? Why would you go to Medina? That doesn't make sense. It's because they didn't go there because of a prophecy. Why did the Jews go to Arabia? The natural explanation is to get away from the Romans. Right? So they fled the Roman Empire, and now into the time of the Byzantine Empire. They're living outside the empire. Why? Because they were persecuted.
Right.
And Alex, like, it's a really interesting point he's made, is that where would you go? You go to the polytheists. You live among polytheists, because the polytheists aren't going to try to convert you. It's the Christians that are going to try to convert you.
Right.
So because they want to preserve their identity, they go to where the polytheists are, where they're not going to be bothered.
I wanted to ask, so why would the polytheists try to convert you though?
Because
not try to convert
polytheists
you.
don't care about converting. Everybody's God is fine. Because
Mm.
all the gods are real. That's the idea.
Okay.
So when you have one God, everybody should acknowledge that one God as like a true God that is sovereign over everybody, whereas all the other gods are local deities.
Right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, unless somebody jumps in, I think we could call it a night.
Most definitely. I appreciate you.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you can join us, and I'll let you guys know if we're going to do it again on Wednesday. And feel free, guys, if you ever want to message me about anything. I'm happy to help you guys as you're learning. Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off, and if everybody signs off, that will turn the recording off, I think so. Okay. God bless, guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.